who requested to join our meeting today. And just as a reminder, anybody is able to join our meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I was on it because I looked for this one earlier. CCDR, if you send it to me, I'll print it.
Perfect.
I just sent it to our printer.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, thank you, Ms. Zorb, for doing that.
Oh, I didn't bring my keys in now.
I have a key.
Thank you, Annalise. Okay.
Does that count as a?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
who do I talk to about getting access to our room back there?
That is an excellent question. I believe we can talk with Ms. Jillian and our city administrator.
Okay.
Do you not have a key?
No?
I don't think I do either. Because I keep thinking I've lost it, but I don't think I ever had one.
Madam Chair,
So, yes, ma'am.
I do believe that they have keys for us in Mr. Torrey's office. That's where I got mine.
Okay.
They had all of them labeled and ready for us, so that's where I got mine.
Perfect. Awesome. I will do that. I know when I was appointed a couple years ago, we had the gold keys, and then we switched to the fob. So, but yes, thank you for
So is
that.
there a different key from that now?
To getting back there, yes. I don't think I ever got that one. I'm sorry. So I'm just waiting on Ms. Zorb to get back so that everybody can have the agenda. I'm going to jump around just a little bit.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
did you send it to me?
I will look again. I'll forward it to you, to everybody one more time. I put Ms. Whitlisbach on here, not you. My apologies.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. About to say, you can have an older car.
Thank you. Lord have mercy. Okay, so has everybody had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes that was sent out as an email?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on the first section of the minutes, when I did read them, I don't have them in front of me, but I do remember, it only mentioned one of the names that we had discussed for the health policy, but we actually discussed 4. So I wonder if we could amend the minutes to include all of the options that we discussed.
Sounds good. Miss Alexander, do you need those names again?
Yes, if you have them.
Okay, I will send them to you. They're on my other agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had circled the ones that we had just mentioned in the meeting. I'm happy to provide that.
If you want to say it now, that would be great.
Oh, sure. One of them was NCH Heal, and I believe that's the one that made it to the minutes. And then we had NCH Forward, Health, Wellness, and Sustainability. And I'm happy to provide a copy of this for you, so you don't have to write furiously either.
Yeah, that's what
So,
was it all one?
yeah. The next one was Our Hill, Our Health. And the other one I had on here was NCH Wellness Sustainability Action Plan.
Perfect. Thank you for providing that. Does anybody have any additional comments? Is it okay if we add those 3 other names? 4 other names? Okay. So, once Ms. Alexander corrects that, we will accept them as okay. Then I'll send it over to our clerk of council. Ms. Stukestein, did you receive the email?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So the next thing we have is number 3 on our list, which is the 1500 West Galbraith Road. I had a lot of time for this. This is something that we've talked about a long time, and we're going into summer session, and we got to get moving on this. Did everybody receive the appraisal? Perfect. I have my mine printed out with a lot of highlighter on it. Does anybody have any questions about the appraisal?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I noticed that we have quite a bit of time allotted for this discussion, so I just wanted to start. I read the entire report, and the piece that stuck out to me, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, at the bottom of page 72. Functional utility. And it says, I'm just going to read it verbatim. The subject property consists of a multi-building institutional use with two different types of structures. The primary building, totaling 30,748 square feet, is an institutional building in a poor to fair condition after the hypothetical condition is applied. Sales 1, 2, 4, and 5 all have similar functional utility to the subject property as they are multi-level buildings. This offsets the two-building configuration of the subject property, et cetera, and sale 3 is considered superior because it's a one-building configuration on a one-building concrete slab. I was extremely concerned. The primary building is in a poor to fair condition after the hypothetical condition is applied. And the hypothetical condition is the work that was proposed as far as we have one vendor's quote from RWB. So that was after the work proposed by RWB. It still would be in a poor to fair condition. I just wanted to make that known.
Ms. Clear, could you provide that page number one more time?
Page 72.
Perfect, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if you're
ma'am.
looking at it on your desktop, it's
Page
actually
74.
page 74 in the Adobe or Nitro or whatever PDF format
it's
you
just-
have.
It's the printout
But it's-
printed, yeah.
But on the printout it's 72. And so I just want to, and I'd be happy to have the individual come and talk about that. We talked about that when I read that. I called him back, and they're legal. He's not in a position to say it's going to be 100%. The appraisers have a legal responsibility to provide what it could be. He's not, there's no way to indefinitely say it's going to be in a tip-top shape. If he were to go on paper saying that, and he's an appraiser of the building, we could legally come after him for, misrepresenting the situation. So he has to kind of give it a range of what he believes it could end up being. And that's just kind of a clause that he puts in there to legally cover himself. There is so much support that should be included in the thought process of it. And I think that to lean on one sentence is understandable to consider a pathway forward, but it should not be the primary foundation of how we go forward.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I just had one other comment as well, just to kind of piggyback off of that. There was, I can't find it, I was looking for it just now, but it said it would be in poor to average, but the average only takes into account the 6,000 square foot relatively new Public Works garage. That is
read
what
that
brought
part
it
too.
up. Otherwise, even with the, so that just begs the question, there's going to be more work to be done.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
before we can use the space. So that's my, it doesn't even bring it on to par with any of the other comparable buildings that they appraised for us. And this is an extremely thorough appraisal. It includes land just by itself
Yes.
or land with
Without-
improvements, including the hypothetical work improvements. So that's, I just wanted to make sure that that was called out here.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that's what is written, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the job will look like after it's done. As Ms. Dukestein said, they can't necessarily say, especially or speak to someone else's job or how they perform and how the project is completed. So I don't think I necessarily agree with you won't be able to utilize the building because we don't necessarily know that that statement is true.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to make sure I clearly heard Ms. Clear's last statement. You were comparing it to the status of the other Public Works building to this one here. I'm not sure that I heard you correctly. I just want a recap of what you said.
I was referring, I couldn't find the exact verbiage in the conclusion here, but there was one paragraph where it mentioned that it could be fair to average, or poor to average assessment, but that's only taking into account averaging in, if you will, the condition of the newer building that is actually on the I'm going to call it the campus there. Otherwise, it's poor to fair condition. And I was trying to find that exact wording here. But at any rate, if I'm kind of wondering then what was the point of doing this appraisal if we are not going to take into account the conclusion of the appraiser?
Well,
I don't, Madam
Who said
Madam
we were
Chair.
not gonna
Okay,
take into-
that's just, yeah.
hold on,
I just wanna be
really
clear.
quickly. So I know we have people who are watching and they're probably curious, like, okay, so an appraisal, if it's saying fair. So just really quickly, in real estate appraisals, poor to fair conditions describes a building that has noticeable physical problems, deferred maintenance, or outdated features that negatively affects its value, safety, and usability. So a fair condition, the building is still functional and can be used, but it likely needs major repairs, updates, or maintenance. Poor condition is the building has significant issues that may impact safety, occupancy, or financial eligibility. And so then it goes on to talk about things that need to be fixed. And a lot of the things that are underneath here are things that we do need to have fixed at our 1500 building. So I think that it's a fair point to look at the appraisal and see what it is we're going to do. This is not the Budget and Finance Committee, but I would like to know how much of our ARPA funds we still have available and if those funds can cover getting majority of this fixed and then we moving forward with what we're going to do next. Because as of right now, if it's poor to average on hypothetical changes, then where are we after we have exhausted our ARPA funds?
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really good place to land, even the assessment that you gave as it relates to poor conditions versus fair average conditions. Additionally, I agree with Ms. Clear. This was the point of doing the appraisal so that we could take into consideration what is being delivered to us, the information here. And so with that thought process in mind, remember that this is phase one. This was not to get the building to an end use. Those other buildings comparatively are already in their end usage. Public Works is functioning very high and it has an outstanding appraisal because it's actually at the end of the road in terms of what it needs to be functional. This building, we already knew this was phase one. Mm-hmm. So in order to get it stable, remember the initial words were, and people were saying, I hate that word stabilization because that was the baseline. We were trying to get the building to a baseline of stabilization so that we could walk back into it and use the offices. And then the other part was to white box. So we would be upgrading in that space to bring the building back to what we would consider excellent condition. So the goal of the hypothetical work was not to bring it to the same status as the Public Works building. The goal was to stabilize the building to get us back in the office side of it and to continue in phase 2 or 3 with that. And so to answer the question about the ARPA funds, there are some significant, I don't want to give a number because Ms. Zorb did reach out and ask for that number, but I haven't had an opportunity to get to that response. And so we have, I know for sure, we have not spent into the ARPA funds significantly enough to alter us being able to get this work done.
Okay. I will save all my budget questions for the next meeting, but I do, if we do phase 1, to get it to a white box state, it's saying this appraisal, correct me if I'm wrong, this appraisal is saying once the work is done, it's still going to be at a poor so we won't be able to get back into it based off of what we're reading?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to say whether we can get back into it or not, but whether it's going to be functional is the question. I did find it was actually just 2 paragraphs above. Even though the subject property evaluation is subject to the hypothetical condition that the environmental remediation is done, as well as a portion of curing deferred maintenance, the subject property will still be in a poor to average condition at that point. The average condition would primarily be attributed to 6,000 square foot maintenance building with the east wing considered to be in a fair to average condition. And just for reference, the east wing is where the offices were. The west wing is the portion that is considered to be in poor condition.
So, I'm sorry.
And that is where the gymnasium and all the classrooms and all of that other thing, where the pictures that we show here have like the ceilings caving in and all kinds of fun
Yes,
stuff. So
yes.
that's on the west half of the building.
And so with the east side of the building and Public Works, that kind of helps pull that value of that building up a little bit. And so I see that the value of the land is 900, not of the land, of the entire, okay. The value of the land is
380,
380
380,000.
if there wasn't a building there. With the building there, with the hypothetical work being done, is a little over 900.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to reread what she just read. It says the
Okay.
subject property will still be in a poor to average condition at that point. The average condition would primarily be attributed to the 600 square feet maintenance building, with the east wing being considered to be in fair to average condition. And so that's the thing, we were only getting it stable. That I am wanting to make sure that the message here for this appraisal is that the goal wasn't that we were going to get it in good condition. We were just trying to get it stable because currently it's not stable.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Miss Alexander.
just for clarification, stable can still mean poor condition?
Because we would not be able to go back into it on that side.
On the
and
gym
on the
side.
gym side and use it for everyday use. It still needs more things to be able to get it to a point where you can use it. Like, for example, we have to, when the white box state, we still have to make sure that, we condition it for everyday use. You can't do anything over there.
So just for clarification, white box state. Is white box state fair, or can it be a
White box-
sliding
Poor to
scale?
fair.
So it is also in reference to what the building used to be.
Okay.
So we're taking everything out and pulling it out. So can you go to that building on a daily basis and use the bathroom and wash your hands, ADA compliant? No, because
Right.
it's at a white box state. So it's not a place where you can report to work every day.
Yeah, I got
That-
that.
that
I was
would
just
not
saying
make it-
as far
that
as
would
like
not-
rating.
So that would create a scenario where it's not functional to allow people to walk back in that building.
Madam Chair, when she's done.
To walk back in that building and function and exist. We are getting it to a point where we are not experiencing any further dilapidation or problems, so that this group council can make a decision on how they want to proceed in phase 2 or phase 3. So you just can't walk back into it and function every day. You have to put it in framework of what this is actually comparing it against. The Public Works building, you can walk in that building, you can use the bathroom, there's internet capability, there is, you can wheel in, if you were in a wheelchair, you could wheel and go
Yeah,
to,
I
so all of those
understand
things.
that. I understand that part about functionality. I was just wanting a clear comparison. If you're putting something in a white box state, even this room, it's just nothing in here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that rank on a poor or
It would-
average, or is that
Madam
something,
Chair.
just something totally different? Is that something on a
I think
different
that,
scale?
I think that that's a fair question, and now I understand how you're prefacing it. And so what I would say or respond to that is that would probably put us on the scale again from average to poor,
Okay.
because it's not yet
That's what I
functional.
would, that's what I wanted.
Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair.
I wanna
Okay,
Get
so
in line, please.
I have Mayor Nichols, and then I have Ms. Chichester, and then I have Ms. Zorb, but really quickly,
You can
I-
skip me. Thank you.
okay. I wanted to point out that as is, market value for this real estate is $920,000. And that's after we put in the work. And I believe the work was somewhere around 700,000. If we,
743.
$743,000, and it would put us at 920,000 if we wanted to sell it as is after we do the white box state, so on and so forth. If we didn't have the building and it was just the land, is 380. So I just wanted all of us to hear that, because we have to put in a lot of money to get, and this is hypothetical, of course, because it keeps saying above mentioned hypothetical condition. So that's something to consider. Mayor Nichols?
I'll pass. Never mind. That's okay.
Ms. Chichester?
I'll pass.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Zorb?
So thank you for allowing me to join your meeting tonight. And I know this isn't budget and finance, but I do want to throw some numbers out because I feel like they are pertinent to this conversation. And I know Ms. Dukestein keeps referring to phase 1 versus 2 versus 3 versus 15 because we don't have that all the way plotted out, so we don't know how many phases there would genuinely be. But I'd also like to also remind council, because there might not everyone may not have been on council when the first estimate or the first document came out from RWB. And the first one that came from RWB was over $3 million. So I take that into consideration when I start thinking about all the other phases. And I'd also like to point out that I don't know if anyone has actually taken the time to drive over to that building lately.
Yes.
But we're only talking about insides. This $3 million is talking about insides, windows, and roof. If you've driven by there lately, you will see that all of the brick around the whole building is pitted, cracking, pieces are falling off. There's one piece of brick that is only being held on by the cable that is going attached to the camera. So I mean, it's
Madam Chair.
I am not an expert, but I would say that even the 3 million plus that we got from RWB is way under what it would really cost to get it to a point where we would be proud of the building, where we would say, look at this building and come send your kids here for recreation or whatever we're going to use it for. I think it's going to, my personal opinion is going to take a whole lot more of that. And is that where we want to invest our money?
Madam
Well,
President.
just to piggyback off of what you're saying, Ms. Zorb, is we have the ARPA funds. We can use the ARPA funds to get it to the white box state, and then we can decide what we want to do with it after we get to that point. If we want to sell the property, or if we want to, whatever ideas we come up with, at least we have that 480 that we can utilize and not lose, because that has a deadline of December of this year. So my goal for this meeting today is for you guys to kind of start thinking about it. And we could come back and figure out what we're going to do, identify what words mean, create a piece of legislation or an ordinance with our law director so we can move forward. It is June. We have to figure out what we're going to do with these ARPA funds quickly. I can't remember who was next. Ms. Chichester?
Yes, I was just going to speak to the fact of the 3 million may not come out of all of our funds. That is down the line. If you decide you want to apply for a grant later to utilize it for a health center, there may be funding for that. But in order to get to the final stage, we have to start at stage 1. And then not only that, we don't own a mortgage on that building, so purchasing another building would require a mortgage and upgrades that would possibly be the same cost with the ongoing mortgage to pay on that. So usually we want to fix what we have now moving forward. The bricks on the outside, I do want to say, are not what's holding up the building. Behind that, there's usually a barrier between that, and the bricks on the outside is kind of more of a look, so to speak, like siding or something of that nature. So those are just like cosmetic things that we can fix. But the main thing, getting it to what was stated as a white box slate, gets us to the functionality of this siding of, like Ms. Gasson said, moving forward, if we're going to sell the property or we're going to build on a property. But we can't really make those decisions until we just at least take a first step of making the decision on what we want to do with the property.
Because I think we can all agree
Yeah.
that the building is getting worse day by day. It's raining today.
Yes,
So whatever's going on with this
absolutely.
roof, it's making it worse on the inside. We have the ARPA funds. We want to move forward with making sure we utilize our resources that we have and not spin our wheels. And then we can move forward with what phase 2 was going to look like.
Madam Chair.
One moment. I did hear Ms. Chichester say, we don't have a mortgage on that. But if we're looking at what is the best for the city, what is best for the city, we just have to not rush and just figure out what the next steps could be. Even if we do have a mortgage on another building or a piece of property or whatever, if it's something that isn't going to take $3 million to put public, private, whatever entities in there so that it's a nice city center, it's worth investing and looking at the comprehensive plan, the master plan, and seeing what it says and just working from there. But my whole goal is, what are we going to do with these ARPA funds? What are we going to do with that building that's deteriorating? We have until December 31st of this year to expend all of those funds.
Madam
Ma-
Chair,
ma-
I know I'm out of order, but I would like to add, we do have a mortgage on the Public Works building that we're still paying for.
Madam
Madam Chair.
I think I was first.
Mayor Nichols.
I'm in line, but I know we haven't heard from Mr. Davis either, so, but yeah, I mean, it's your meeting, but yeah.
If you can think on it, I'll have Mayor Nichols go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to just briefly, a couple of things. We talked about, I heard from over here, $380,000 is what the building would cost if we were to sell it with just the land. But let's think about this. Prior to selling for the land, we still have to get rid of the asbestos, right? So out of that 900 and whatever, even if we did it, you have to get rid of that.
No matter what.
Right, I don't know anyone who would buy property, even if we just said you buy it for 380, they're gonna probably shave off just to take care of the asbestos. The brick, if it's from the top, is probably because there's still an ongoing issue with the roof. And,
It's on the east side of the
Okay.
building.
water is, we know it happened before. Finds a little hole and goes wherever. I'm not in that side. We're not looking for recreation. I heard that as well. It's a city center. We were mainly the office space, and when you talk about a white box, I think I reference it sort of like an unfinished basement. You have everything that you need, not everything. It's just, and you go on most of them, they white, little electrical wire hanging here, electricity works, but there's nothing else. I'm a firm believer you have to deal with what you have before you can get what you want. Now, this is what we have, and we are not being responsible taking care of it. We have this piece of property, and we've known for quite some time the condition that it's in. We have something that can get our office staff back in there. And Ms. Dukestein says phase 2, phase 3. but we gotta get through phase 1 first. I mean, I don't know. I, without saying it, I feel what the concept or what most people want to do, but at this particular time, I don't think that that's the right thing for us to do. We need to take care, because taking care of the asbestos and the mold is an opportunity for the office staff to go back in. You never have to touch the other side. You never have to touch it. But you contend with the fact till you decide, okay, this is what we want to do with this building, at least you know you put some progress, some movement into having your staff go back, giving the seniors back their building. And think about it, you got two different spaces on that east side. It's the other side in the back where the DAV and, you know, it's not just us. We can get the other people who want to be in there. And I think what it is, a lot of people are, recreation. We didn't say recreation. We're talking about office space for staff who is piled up in here, files everywhere that need to be somewhere else. You have no room in your space. You don't even have a place where you can go. So that's it for
Okay.
right now.
So I did a lot, 30 minutes for this discussion, and I just want to remind my fellow council members, I know you guys all know this, we are responsible for buildings, parks, land, things of that nature. It is our decision what it is we're going to do with this, but I want to I want to remind us that there is a deadline for the ARPA funds. So regardless, if we tear the building down, sell the building, or we go back in there officially and do cartwheels, we got to get rid of the mold and asbestos. We have to do that. We have the funds to do that. So just keep that in your mind. And then when if there is a phase 2, we'll go to phase 2 and figure that out.
Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair, are we tabling this then until
We are
our
going
next
to
meeting?
table this until next meeting.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So you did allot 30 minutes and you did not start on this topic at 6 o'clock. So I don't think that the 30 minutes is up. So may I say what you're saying, or you
Well,
just
the 30
continue?
minutes also includes my request for an update on St. Margaret Mary. I attended a planning commission meeting where they talked about the potential of sending the first rights to receival. Sorry, my brain's not working today. I don't know why. Thank you. Was that sent? Do we have a copy of that? Did it go to the Archdiocese? Where are we?
No, it was not sent. We last spoke on it on Thursday, and then that needed to go over to Bill to get updates. Friday, Bill was not working. Monday was a holiday. Today is Tuesday.
Okay.
So that was in the last conversation we had to say that we were sending an update was in the CIC meeting on Thursday, not this meeting last month. So last month, the request was, did I actually send it? And I think there were some records requests or some requests around, did I send it? And that was provided. Proof of me having sent it was provided. So on Thursday of last week in the CIC meeting, I stated that I would resend the letter with an update on our interest, and there were a couple of details that we were supposed to include. And so, again, Bill was out Friday, and then Monday was a holiday, and today is Tuesday. So, no, we have not sent the letter.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to hearing more about that. And I believe all of us up here, correct me if I'm wrong, we do want the first right of refusal to be sent to the correct entities and hear back. Is anybody in opposition?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Madam President, or Chair, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Part of that conversation also, I was at the CIC meeting, had to do with potentially, not necessarily buying the building, because they may not be selling the building.
Absolutely.
Just because they're not holding services there anymore doesn't mean that the Archdiocese won't use it for something. So the other element that we were considering was potentially putting in there was if they're going to be offering any kind of community programming, that we would love to be a part of that. So that would be that was also something that we had talked about in CIC, because even if the Archdiocese is not selling the space right off the bat, we don't know, it's their building, right? So, I mean, they may decide to make it a retreat center, we don't know, right? So, but we just wanted to put ourselves at the top of their inbox
Yes.
again, and just say, you know, if you're willing to, if you're thinking about selling, let us know. Or if there's community things, am I misquoting that? Like, there's some community things that we would love to be a part
I
of.
think I heard the word lease.
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care.
or even a short-term lease or something, you know,
Yes.
for part of the space. But anyway, we were just kind of spitballing ideas there in the CIC meeting, but that was definitely an outcome, was that we were going to reach out to them again, because it's been 13 months almost since we first reached out. So we just were going to do the bump to the top of the inbox and just let them know, hey, we're still here, we're still interested.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Clear. So we'll look forward to that from Ms. Dukestein. We're going to move on just for the sake of time because we have a lot of stuff on our agenda today. And the Outdoor Fitness Center, confirmation of start date and official location, has that been identified yet?
So no, the official location has not been identified, but I did speak to them today, and they are supposed to, I don't know if you remember in the conversations that we had to provide storage for the equipment, so they are shipping that equipment out on the 28th for a 5 to 7 day arrival, and it'll be stored in the Public Works building until we move forward on next steps.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
is that June 28th or May 28th?
May 28th
Thank you.
So
to 1500.
we received, I and Ms. Alexander received a packet of information where it talked about all of the requirements for it to be successful. So I know we talked about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Linda Stagman, Shaper Park? Shaper Park. Is it going to fit there? Has anyone gone out to measure to make sure that it's like 150 feet away from a playground and so many feet away from a fence, so on and so forth? Have we done that to see if it would fit there?
So when they assessed the, all of the different locations that it could be at, that was one of the locations that they also assessed. So that was always in a backup. There were a couple of them. So we went down to the next one on the line once we kind of maybe tentatively are moving away from the old pool location. So yes, that one it has a plan to be put there. Are they comfortable with it being there? And all the answers to that are yes.
Okay. So just to make sure I understand, the equipment is being shipped to us on the 28th. She'll come maybe the first or second week of June, and then we move forward with the confirmation of the location.
Yes, we need to confirm the location.
So how do we confirm that? If that is city property, who gives the yay or nay to that?
The city does.
Okay. So do we get buy-in from the school since it's right there at the school? I know it's city property, but
So yes, we would get buy-in from the school. Mr. Blaylock was out last week.
okay. That just concerns me because at first we thought the pool location was good and there was buy-in there. So what's the backup to the backup?
That's their property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
So
sorry, I
the-
didn't
I
hear
guess
that
the
comment. What
difference-
was that comment?
I guess the difference is that the pool location,
Yes, I'll tell you.
I guess the difference, and it kind of piggybacks on Mayor's comment. She said that's their location, meaning they essentially own it. And so, we own the park.
But there's an agreement that during school hours, is closed. So I think that's what makes me nervous, having it by the school and the little kids and all that stuff. Is there a possibility that someone will say, no, they don't want it there between the city or the school?
When I spoke with Mr. Blaylock about it, he was open to a couple of areas in that space, even willing to come over on their space. It was a green area. So I think my takeaway from him regarding our last walkthrough and conversation was that we would work together to come up with a space where the city could put it, and then we would create a scenario that both parties were comfortable with. So what I think about that is that we will reach a mutual agreement. But the Shaper Park does belong to the city. That is our property.
Okay, with contingencies, correct?
Madam Chair, I'd like to get in line whenever you're ready.
No, you're absolutely fine. So,
So
like,
the other space that belongs to them also has contingencies as well. So,
which is the pool location, right?
yeah, and it just
Mhm.
means it should be open to the public
Mhm.
or for public, or to be used for public use. So, I mean, I believe in a partnership with the school that we will come up with a location that we all can be satisfied with. I don't believe anyone's gonna bully anyone. We're just gonna keep talking about it until we get to the right location and fit for North College Hill and North College Hill School.
Okay. Is there a deadline for that where we can
No,
circle
they
back?
are aware, the committee is aware that we are offset by location. He said that's actually not uncommon, and that we can continue to have the conversation until we reach a good space.
Okay. Before we get to Ms. Clear, I think I heard Mr. Davis. Did you have anything?
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay. Ms. Clear?
Okay, thank you. I'm not trying to like monopolize your meeting. I'm trying to keep my comments as brief as possible. So we have this equipment being shipped on the 28th. It's going to be stored at Public Works. Frankly, with the kids not being in school right now is the ideal time to get started on this as soon as humanly possible. I, as a council member, I would love to see something in writing from the school district as a shared use agreement. I know that years ago, there was one with the school district, and it might predate Dr. Blaylock's time with the school. So just so everybody has a visual, up to the fence, if you are on Bising, facing between the elementary school and the football stadium, facing south, the initial trapezoid-shaped parcel is owned by the city. The rectangle where the swimming pool used to be next to the school parking lot is owned by the school, because I just looked those parcels up before I came to the meeting. But I know there was a shared use, shared maintenance agreement, something like that was in place. If that paperwork cannot be located, I would very much prefer to see something contractual or some kind of a memorandum of understanding, something that would memorialize whatever agreement we come to in terms of the use of that space for public use for this fitness center between the school and the city. So we have that memorialized, and it's for our future reference. That would be my, I strongly recommend we do that because that can get very sticky, especially if people come and go. We need to have that memorialized.
I agree 100%. It goes back to the piece of legislation that we passed about accepting the funds. We want to make sure every piece is there so that our future selves know what happens. I also want to piggyback off of Ms. Clear. The kids are out of school, so it's easy to get in there, put the center up, so on and so forth. So if we can get to an agreement quickly so that maybe this can be done during the summer so that when school is back in and people are walking around and things like that, they have something that is concrete and done. There's not a lot of construction, so I would appreciate if we can get this done here by the next CCDR meeting, if possible.
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with all the sentiments. I do think that we need to get something in writing. And I also agree that the student body is out of school right now, so this is the best time to be actionable. That is why we were on the time clock that we were on. We specifically, when we set out the time period, decided to wait until the kids were out of school to see this project completely roll out. And we also, Mr. Blaylock, or Dr. Blaylock and I, when we spoke last time, we said that we would come up with something and put it in writing, and we would be, now that was definitely about the pool space, but that does not change for me to make sure that we get something in writing.
Thank you. So just moving right along, we're gonna go on to point 5, which was the new health policy initiative brand name. So I have NC Heal. I'm not sure if anybody else liked any of the other ones that we went over. Ms. Clear, when would you like to have this decision made by?
This is not time sensitive, so I think, I don't want it to go away.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
we don't have to decide this immediately if we have other more pressing priority topics for this
Yes, ma'am,
committee.
we
But
do.
I know Ms. Chichester wanted to chime in. I just heard her in my ear. I don't know if you heard her.
I did. Yes, Ms. Chichester.
I was just gonna ask, can we review the names just for reference? Because I don't remember all 4 of them. I remember there were 4.
For the sake of time, Ms. Clear, do you mind emailing the names to all of council? I think we received it as a paper copy, but if we could send it out electronically, that would be great.
I can do that after the meeting.
Thank you. Number 6, really quickly, we discussed this a little bit on council floor. I had brought it up about having the community garden, and I had spoken with a couple of people actually in the city who are really interested in participating. That we have one person who wants to lead this new initiative if we do it slightly different. There was a question about maybe having it in a new location. There are some properties in North College Hill that maybe we could utilize for a community garden, putting the access to water there, having rain barrels. It was a lot of really cool ideas. We're going to meet as a group, myself, Miss Alexander, and a couple of other individuals, Miss Carla Belcher, so on and so forth, and just talk about what a bigger community garden would look like and how we would have the youth come and help and work with us. So please stay tuned if you guys want to join. There will be a email thread for volunteers to communicate. So just be on the lookout for that, and we'll bring back updates. If there's anything that is needed from the city, I will bring that to council and to administration. But it's rolling.
Madam
So,
Chair.
yes, ma'am.
I know that the land by the school with that garden, Ms. Javette does partner with the school with the youth. I'm not sure exactly how all of that works, but you may want to reach out and touch base with Ms. Javette about that. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
You're
Great
welcome.
idea. So we can get out by 7. Old business, Pies Park, Clover Nook. I actually went over and looked at Pies Park and checked out their equipment and everything. I felt like a kid, but that grass, I was a little scared. Trying to walk through there. When are we going to get that cut? I know it's raining, but when is it going to be open again? There is still a lock on there. I'm not sure if that belongs to the city or if it belongs to Clover Nook. Where are we with that? Because we're starting to pay on it, right?
We already started paying on it. We paid on it for the year.
Okay.
So our year started, but the lock is not a lock on there. It's just a bungee cord to hold the fence
there's a lock.
together. Well,
There's
I
a lock.
called today to verify, and the lock was removed when she sent the contract back to me, and she told me that it was a bungee cord. I didn't actually visit because I asked her about the key, and she told me that it was just a bungee cord holding the 2 pieces of the fence together. However, we anticipate getting back in there to cut the grass and to inspect the equipment on July the 1st. I'm sorry, June the 1st, by June the 1st.
So just to clarify, there were 2 locks on the gate. There was one on the bottom and one on the top. The top lock is no longer there, and yes, there is a bungee cord. Unless it was removed late on Monday. I went on Monday, and the lock was still there. So
But is it actually holding the 2 pieces
it's not
together?
it's not holding it together, but it's still there.
Yeah, but I don't know what that is. That's their
So it
lock.
doesn't belong to us,
No,
and it doesn't belong to Clover Nook.
no. Oh,
Okay.
I don't know if it belongs to Clover Nook. What I'm saying is the lock that was holding us out is no longer there.
Correct, but there is still
So-
a lock. So I'm just saying if that can be removed, that'll be.
I don't,
perfect.
if it's not ours, then we would need to, I thought you were referring to a lock that was keeping us from getting in there. They have removed all of their things that would hold us from being out. I will call back and ask them about a lock that's not combined, holding the 2 doors together. I don't know where that lock came from. I don't know if it's ours. I don't know if it's theirs. I do not believe that it is ours because we removed what I thought was ours off before. and then they place their lock on there. So whatever that is, what I do know is it's not prohibiting us from going in and accessing it. And so there's a bungee cord on there. And we hope to get in there and cut the grass and get that part cleaned up by June the 1st.
Okay, who owns the gate?
We put the gate in.
So we own the gate?
No, because actually in the contract, what it said prior is any equipment, with the exception of the playground equipment that we added on their property, becomes theirs. That is actually a real estate permanent, considered like a real estate permanent fixture. There, now, play equipment would be a permanent fixture also, but we agreed with them in our prior contracts that the equipment would come with us. The fence was not a part of that agreement.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I think that was Clover Neck's gate that we put in back when Mr. Huffman was here, Mayor may remember, because there was some question about whether we would, renew the lease. And then we were also wanting to close it at certain hours because of issues with dumping and things like that. But I think, to your point, it is now a fixture. However, what I was going to say was, if the intent is to keep it at least visually closed until we can remediate the tall grass, is there a way that we can either put a sign up or open it? And if somebody comes looking for their lock, they can come looking for the lock at the city office.
What do you mean? The lock that's on there,
I mean, open it. If it's open, then open it. If it's closed for maintenance purposes, then put something up to say it's closed until we can get the grass cut or whatever. But otherwise, I don't understand why it would be closed at all. And if somebody's looking for a lock, they can come claim their lock. Because if we're under,
I don't understand
if we're
what the
under,
lock has to do with it.
no, I mean, because it's closed and it visually looks like it's locked, unless you could probably get right up on top of it.
Like I did.
So people are going to drive up to that park and think it's closed. So what I'm trying to say is, if the park is indeed open, then let's open it, remove the lock, and
Cut it
if
off.
someone, take it off, physically
Cut it off.
take it away, bring it here, and if somebody's looking for it, they can come get it from the city office. That's because we're under we're under lease, right, with them.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can decide what happens with access to the park,
So the access is not being inhibited. What I agreed that I would do is call and check on the ownership of the lock. If it is not Clover Nook for the blinds lock, then we can cut it off and have it removed, because I'm going to presume that it probably was ours at that point. I will agree to put a sign up till June 1st, because we do not want people in there until we are able to cut the grass down and make sure that the play equipment is safe.
Just
People-
for reference, this is the same lock that was on the gate in January, February, March, April, and this month.
When
So
I
if it's-
talked to her today, she said that it
I have
was,
pictures if you would like to see them.
that's fair. I honestly haven't been out there to see the lock, so I don't know if it's the same lock or if it's a different lock. What I do know is that the lock is not inhibiting us from entry, and I also know that she said that there was no lock there that
Belong to them.
belonged to us. No, not to them, to us.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
would the bungee be removed as well? I mean,
I'm gonna keep the bungee on there until the sign,
so
until
the
June
bungee
1st.
is to
Deter people from
deter
coming
people
in.
from coming in until the maintenance is done.
Yes.
I think what concerns me about Pies Park and this lock conversation is we don't know who it belongs to, and someone can come in at any time and say, I have the key, I'm locking this up. And then our city administrator doesn't have access to this key. Clover Nook doesn't have access to this key. Brandon Davis, you don't have access to the key, and so now we can't get into our park. Just take the lock
Madam
off.
Chair, the,
Very, very simple.
the lock will just be cut off.
Either way,
I mean, it'll just be cut off.
because we
I
don't have the
mean,
key to it anyway.
right now, until we do the maintenance, we don't want anyone in. So come June 1st, whether it's our lock, your lock, whomever's lock, is getting cut off.
Okay.
And the bungee cord will be removed.
Alrighty, thank you. Moving on, we have a couple of things really quickly. We still have Veterans Park that we are going to discuss. Park signs, just getting a date for when we're going to get our our park signs freshened up. I drove around, as I stated before, and looked at our different parks, and some of the signs are a little faded. So I don't know if that would come from administration when they're going to have someone come out and spruce things up and beautify our park signs. Do we have a date for when that could happen?
So I think that the park signs are, well, I don't think, I know that the park signs are ready. They just have to make time to install them, depending on the weather and what it does this week. I think it's something that they can get to this week. I just sent Public Works an email today about picking up the park signs and installing them. And then the freshening up of the signs, each park has a different requirement to freshen it up. Some of the park signs are just the metal signs, very similar to, so the park signs, just to be clear, that are ready to go are the rules, where there was that old Starburst on there. We updated it with our new logo and the new park rules. And then there, we also ordered new park signs for the park signs that were metal. But the ones that are wooden and need to be painted, we have a group that's going to help us freshen those signs up. And that date is probably, well, for sure, is not until June.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
we spent $1,800 on 6 new park signs about 3 years ago, brand-new park signs. Do we know what happened? I picked them up myself from Sign Effects and brought them to the Public Works Garage. And Mayor, I think you remember, because we worked on the design of those signs together, the big ones for each, and those were ordered. And those were picked up, and because I physically picked them up. So we have them somewhere here, new park signs, brand new ones. And they're made of the coated aluminum, so that if they get any kind of paint or anything on them, they can be easily cleaned. Those are the material that we did. They're all uniform. They all look the same. So I don't know where they are, but I know I physically picked them up.
Well, thank you for that information. I did let Public Works know that we were ordering new signs. In fact, I reached out to Public Works to order the signs, and they said, well, that's a recreational task.
Yeah,
He did not
because I did. When I
mention-
was rec director, that's what I did.
He
I
did not
ordered.
mention that there were park signs, so he was clear that we were looking to replace the signs. So what I'm saying is, there was no admission that there were signs ordered. I will check into that, and maybe
Okay.
we can move forward with those signs.
Yeah, because there
that
should
is a
be, there should
duplication
be a
of
receipt
duties.
or an invoice from Sign Effects in
Perfect.
finance somewhere.
So what I would like to do is if we can have an update on the signs that Ms. Clear is referring to by our next council meeting, if we can just have an update on that, that'll be perfect. And then whenever the signs are put out, great. But if we have something, and you're saying 3 years,
I don't remember exactly when I ordered them, but they're big. They're the big, like, formal looking. We had them made for each park. They all look the same. They're all North College Hill, and so they're here somewhere.
Why didn't they get put up when you ordered them?
That was happening right around the time that I want to say we had a lot of internal leadership changes taking place. And that was not a high priority at that point in time to get those installed, but they were ordered, and I physically picked them up. They're here.
that's really
somewhere.
good because we don't have turnover.
That was just during it, like I said, it was during a time frame where we had a lot going on, and they didn't get installed at that point. It was right around when we were renovating Stapleton, because I ordered them at that point in time. I remember now that was the time frame.
Okay, perfect. So I look forward to that update at our next council meeting. For the sake of time, I'm going to put the welcome baskets in the parking lot. Does anybody have any new business or any comments that you guys would like to add at this time?
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So just a quick brief, I think I'd be remiss not to mention the update on Veterans Park, just because the grant is associated with that. So we were able to locate and reach out to start the design, because it was like, hey, can you, well, I won't say we have not started the design. We reached out, we made contact to initiate that process. So both the updates would be coming. I don't know what meeting we were in last, but the question was posed at me, whether could we update the park, get the park updated, and work on the design of the park. And so we've made contact to do so and kind of update and refresh the things. So,
Awesome. I appreciate that update. Any questions about Veterans Park? Alrighty. Since we have 1 minute left, welcome baskets, we have a list of names, home addresses where we have new homeowners. I would like to bring that up, if not at this next Budget and Finance meeting, but the following one, so that we can appropriate funds, so that we can continue to do the welcome baskets for these families. And also, I spoke with Ms. Dukestein a couple of days ago about volunteering at the Juneteenth event. And there may be a table for people to sign up saying, hey, we're new homeowners, so on and so forth. So I thought that was a really good idea. And if anybody would like to help me man that table, that'll be awesome. But it's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
And we are going to begin the Budget and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. Going down our agenda, it appears that All members are present. We have no guests, well, no external guests. We have administration as our guests. And I hope everyone had a moment to review the minutes from the April committee meeting. Did anyone have any questions or concerns about the April minutes?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Stevens-Knott.
In the minutes, there is a statement attributed to me that said she felt it was unfair or she felt it was not fair. I would like to have that statement restated because my feelings had nothing to do with the information that was being presented. The information was provided in the meeting, in the council meeting, actually, in February, I do believe, or maybe March. I want to say February, regarding the non-filer program, the administrative subpoena program, the dollars that were collected. So the question that was asked in the last meeting was about information that had been provided, and the question was about whether or not this information would, if I had an update to the information that had already been provided literally a month before. So it's not that it was unfair, it's simply the data was not available. So I would like for the record to reflect that.
Madam Chair.
1 second, please. So are you saying you want the entire statement removed, or do you want it to be changed to?
I did
It
not
wasn't-
provide but it wasn't about my feelings about it being fair or unfair. That wasn't it. It was simply the information was not available additional to the information that was provided.
So we can
about-
change it to the information was not available.
New information was not available.
New information was
Yes.
not available.
Yes.
Ms. Curitan.
Thank you so much. And that was going to be my question because I actually got the notes right off of the YouTube link. So I didn't add or modify or change anything. So you just wanted to be removed because
The term, she felt it was not fair.
that was the term used. But I can
No, I
modify.
did, well, but I don't believe that's what I stated because it's not normally about my feelings because the
Got it
idea
right from
was
the
that
YouTube. Yeah.
that that the data simply was unavailable,
Okay.
and it was not it's not a realistic expectation for there to have been new data less than 60 days since the data had already been provided.
Yeah, I don't mind making that redaction, but I did just want to confirm for the record that the notes came directly from the YouTube link that is still live now.
So, Ms. Curitan, you will make that?
Yes, per her
Adjustment?
request, I can make it.
Perfect.
And I'm not
Thank you.
sure if when making that modification, is it just per request, or how do you want me to actually do that?
Madam Chair.
You know what, how about if you and I look at it together
we can do
and
so.
we'll make it
Okay, sounds good.
sound like a deal?
Mhm.
Other than that modification, is everyone okay with the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so we will make that and then put those in for public posting. All right, next up, we have the monthly finance report from Ms. Stevens-Knott.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
everyone
sorry,
has
Mrs.
all of the
Stevens-Knott,
data.
forgive me.
All is well. I
Bless
did
you.
provide the information. You already have it in your possession. Based on prior questions, the tenor of this particular meeting, I hoped that this presentation of data gave you a little bit more insight and some more direct information that's tangible, that wasn't over inundated with numbers and account codes that are just unfamiliar. So if there are any questions, I am happy to ask or answer at my best ability.
So I have
Mm-hmm.
one. Actually, I really like the new format. So
Love it.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Me too.
There was one, sorry, I didn't have it pulled up. Now I do. I was confused about page.
Oh, page numbers.
Okay, it was, I think it's like the first page, after your heading.
Executive summary, revenue summary.
It says bank versus book reconciliation summary.
Right, okay, there we go. Yes.
Okay, so it says the mayor's court account says 0 all the way across.
Yes.
That's for beginning balance, April receipts, April payments,
Yes.
and ending balance.
Yes.
So I think I need some clarification then, because we get this monthly court report,
Yep.
and that has dollars on it. That has, so
I already know. I have an answer for you.
then I'll stop.
Not a problem. So currently, we are working with Civica because it was not currently in our accounting system. So this represents what's in our accounting system. It's because you do get a monthly report. I get the exact same monthly report regarding Mayor's Court. I have put out my feelers into the community to find out what other cities do as it relates to their mayor's court, whether or not it lives inside of their accounting system. Currently, I have 3 cities that say it doesn't, and about 2 cities that says it does. So just trying to get some best practices around that in order for us to get a better handle on it, and once get back some, just some solid direction on that. Hopefully they say, yes, put it in the system. Our auditor, I have a question out to the state auditor also to find, and hopefully the answer will be yes, it should be inside of your accounting system. And when the answer becomes yes, then we will add it. But currently it does not live inside of our accounting system.
So as a follow-up, then where does it live in, because,
It lives
It-
on that
apparent-
piece of paper and on a bank statement.
okay. So it's in these numbers.
It is not.
It's not in these numbers.
Not
So it's not in-
not the
it-
reconciliation of that, what you're looking at.
Okay.
So what you're getting from Diane as it relates to Mayor's Court is a reconciliation of all activity, not just the dollars. So at the bottom, I do believe that report speaks to the dollars that are given to the city. So those dollars are included in this report because they get deposited into the general fund, but not the everyday, because there's dollars that go to the state in there. There's dollars that go to taking care of software and all those items. So everything that happens in Mayor's Court does not currently live in our accounting system. Only the dollars that come to the city.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to belabor this subject for a minute.
Okay.
Please bear with me. So, again, to kind of reconfirm what you just said. So even in this report, it says city revenue, and then it says state revenue, and then it says other revenues, and then it says total.
Right.
So with that being said, like I'm looking at this month's report, and this month's report has a total year-to-date of 76,000, but that's not what we should see, because that includes all of the revenues that I just stated.
Correct.
So as far as the city revenue is concerned, though, it should be just the top portion of this report, which should be the 65,000? Question
Whatever
mark?
she says is the city, whatever she says is written to the city, that is an actual check that we get, that gets recorded in our books.
Okay.
So let me see. Let me show you where it is at on your So there's a North College Hill revenue summary for council. That's the name of the report.
Give
And
me a
Fund Two-
ballpark idea how far down it is.
Maybe about 8 pages down. And you will see Fund 208, court computer. And you'll see the dollars that have been received so far this year. Towards the middle of the page, it says
Yep.
fund by fund performance. The mayor's court is Fund 208.
Okay. I must be looking at the wrong one.
Maybe I'll add page numbers next time.
So what I'm
Yep.
what I'm looking at, though, it just says our appropriation in year-to-date spent. It doesn't show revenue, does it? Am I seeing revenue? Am I not? Am I on the wrong page? Let's start there.
Madam Chair, did you ask to approach like the court of law? Oh,
Is that where I'm supposed to be? Nope. That's, okay. All right. Thank you, dear. Perfect. All right. Did any other members of the committee have questions?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Gaston?
I was just reading and I stumbled upon something that was interesting and I just didn't know if we could clarify what it was used for. I see, okay, it's that way, so I can read it like this.
What report are you reading? What's the
I
title?
am looking at the outstanding check report,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
and it has University of Louisville for 416 for 1,050. What was that for?
I don't know.
That, Madam Chair,
Hold on. Outstanding check report.
Madam Chair. Oh, sorry, that was, Cheney went to a training down there, and that was for his training. It was at the University of, Louisville, but it
Oh,
was
there it
a
is. Yeah,
police
it's-
training.
Yeah, it is, I'm sorry. Why are you sideways?
Cool. I didn't have any other questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Skirton?
I have a couple of questions. On page, I believe it corresponds with page 9 at the bottom.
What's the name of the report? I don't have page numbers.
It is the month-to-date, year-to-date revenue report, month 4, fiscal year 2026. And the category, excuse me, the category is unbudgeted activity. I'm
Okay.
sorry, the actual category is over-collected.
Okay.
So it states that we've already reached 144% of the full year estimate at month 4. Can you confirm how much we've estimated for this year for that? And then if you can,
Are we talking about the impound lot?
I am, yes.
Okay, so we didn't have a number. So we started at like
zero.
$45,000 and we blew that out the water. So that's a good thing. So that was the budget.
So how do we budget for something that we've never budgeted for it before?
You just hope, yep, you think, you guess.
Okay.
And then you learn from trends and then you get better at it.
And so we're beyond going at pace. If we keep at the same rhythm, where will we land in Q4? So if we're already at 140% right now, and this was at month 4, April, where will we land at the end of the year?
I don't think that would, I would not guess to that. The assumption would,
The forecast for 2027.
the forecast for 22, we will start looking at that and see where we are at Q3 to budget for the revenue of that. Because the reality is we can collect as long as we have the manpower to tow. So you kind of have this ebb and flow of service. Coming out of the wintertime, a lot of things, they ramp up the service, but then police officers get busy doing other things, and that does not become a number one driver. So we will see.
Okay.
We'll see.
And fair enough. And then the next question is for budget pacing, all funds versus year elapsed. Under senior services, it states that Fund 204, we have appropriated $70,144. Year-to-date, $91,24. I'm going to assume this is all levy dollars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's levy dollars and then, the little bit of fundraising that the seniors do.
That's all
dollars.
together?
Yeah. It's the senior centers.
So
Money.
it says we're under pace?
Correct. If you assume a straight line allocation for the year, we just haven't spent the money yet. But that's not unusual since seniors don't like to come out in the cold or the rain. It would not be logical that she would be programming in Q1 and early Q2 of the year. She amps up her programming when it gets warmer.
Okay, so just to ensure, I fully understand you. So 301, 302, and 401 on this same page, fund level pacing, it states that those are the levies, but for senior services, we've lumped that all in with the levy and the fundraising?
That's just whoever chose to name them. These are legacy names.
What I want to clarify is under Fund 204, it says senior citizens. That's the levy, and that is what our senior recreational director, not rec direct, our senior services director, she fundraises. Those are all lumped in together.
That is correct.
Is there a plan to separate them, similar to how we have the police, fire, and the street levies separated?
No, because her fundraising is like $100 here, $15 there, $30 there. It's not
Okay.
material.
May I ask a follow-up question to that? So I guess I have a level of confusion around that because a levy is restricted, but that fundraising,
It's restricted for the seniors.
it is?
Yeah, she's fundraising for the seniors. She's designated, is designated. I like the term designated.
Okay.
It's a much better term in this space. It's designated for seniors. So every dollar that she raises is designated for seniors, whether it's,
So it can go in that same line item then?
that is correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
I wouldn't have known that. Yes, Ms. Cast.
I'm
I'm sorry. Ms. Curitan, were you finished?
I don't, but Ms. Gaskin can go, and then I can.
Please forgive me. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm looking here and I see relief fund. Is that the same as ARPA
No,
funds? Okay, cool.
no,
Great
that
to
is the
know.
old EMS fund.
Okay, so where would I find the ARPA money that we have, so that I can see, because do we still have the full 480
Yes.
available?
We
Okay,
have
perfect.
no choice.
No, we have, she's asking, I'm sorry.
She's asking about what sits on that PO.
Yeah, but she's, the PO that we were encumbered against, and then we encumbered the entire 860. So this is historic stuff that happened before Shiva Stevens not came. And so we've spent against that encumbered amount, that 480, that, or whatever that amount, I think it was like 483. That is some of the money's still there, but we've encumbered, so you can't look at it.
I understand that. I understand that it was almost $1 million that we had left to encumber. But similarly to our conversation earlier today in a different committee, I just wanted to make sure I knew how much of the ARPA funds towards that project was available. And I just didn't know where to find that in the report. So that's why I'm asking about.
So I'm going to say I don't really think it lives. It is designated funds. It lives currently because of how it's appropriated. It sits on a PO.
Okay.
So there is an open PO for said vendor for that amount.
Awesome.
But
That's
there
where it
are-
sits.
Thank you.
But there are still things that could be put against that amount.
So have things been put, I'm sorry. I don't mean to
Keep
take over
going,
your
because I'm
meeting.
going to ask the same
I was
questions
like,
if you don't.
Was there anything that was done? Because I don't know, Ms. Chichester, Ms. Curitan, I don't know if you guys remember, we talked about electrical boxes that were, I think, down Galbraith. Did we use any of the Splash Pad 1500 offices money
Chair.
towards
We
that?
could not have used the dollars that way. We
Yeah.
Okay.
did not use that money for electrical boxes down Galbraith Road that were repaired, were not put against ARPA funds that were designated for that project.
Okay, and nothing has.
Things have, but not that. Things that have gone on at that building.
Could you be more
No,
specific?
I think, okay.
I can get those, that's why I said earlier, I was gathering those things, and I had not had an opportunity to dig into that.
I don't know.
I
what you're
swore I would have heard it was being used for the electrical boxes, so
I mean, I think you should go back and look at the tape, but I did not say that that money was being used for the electrical boxes.
But money was used out of this 483, correct?
Ms. Stevens is shaking her head no.
Down at
Yeah,
that
y'all are saying two
building.
different things. She's
Yeah, I
saying
know,
no.
because Ms. Stevens not, it's like,
Yeah.
no, you
Ms.
can't, because it's
Stevens
an
not
open
would know.
PO, but you're saying that we can, this is where we get confused and then.
I agree. So, Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Stevens not.
I think the question is not ARPA funds.
Mhm.
you all were aware of what was done with ARPA funds, and then there was an amount that was left over. That amount, $482,900 and something dollars, rounded up to $483,000, sits on a purchase order because it had to be encumbered
Yes.
by the end of the year, and you cannot encumber into oblivion. You have to encumber to something.
Right.
So it was encumbered to a particular vendor for a particular amount. And there's a list of items that are allowed, that got included in that. I think there was some splash pad stuff, but just different things that said vendor can do
With that PO.
with that PO.
Got it.
Since I've been here, there has not been any action with that vendor against that PO.
And that's
Perfect.
where I'm
Thank you.
continuing to say that there has been work over at the Public Works building that has said vendor, but is not yet finished, that will go against that PO. It just has not come through yet.
That means it hasn't been billed.
Right. So she's saying,
So work is being done, it just hasn't been billed.
yes, to put against that PO.
What work has been done at the Public Works building?
They had some doors put on, they had some different, things that needed to be updated over there.
Do we have an idea how much that, I mean, certainly we got some type of estimate
And
from the
so you
vendor
sent
before
me an
we had that
email.
work done, right?
Yes, and you sent me an email, and I said that I would respond to the email. I just haven't had an opportunity to dig into it yet. I don't understand what the confusion is about. That requires me, before I state open numbers in an open meeting, it requires me to do the research, and I have not yet had the
Madam
opportunity
Chair.
to do that.
I believe the concern is, I don't know that any of us have ever heard that before. So there's
Madam Chair.
puzzlement, at the minimum on my face, there's puzzlement, because I've never heard that we were getting new doors on Public Works office, on the
Madam
Public
Chair.
Works
But
building.
why would I mean, and that makes sense, I agree, but why would I have that conversation? There's a lot of work that gets done that council is not privy to. For
Madam Chair.
example, like we're getting a fence. I mean, we haven't talked about that either because it doesn't fall into something that I would have to come to council about. So I don't think
So
that that's
here's my
foreign.
point.
Yes,
We talk about this a lot.
yes.
We talk about this a lot. We talk about this a lot. We talk about it in several different committees. So if any of this money was being spent, I would think we would have been told. That's where I'm going to end this whole conversation. All right. Ms. Curitan, do you have
Thank you,
anything else to
I do.
speak on?
I
Thank you.
do. So this is going back to grant dollars and the grant encumbrances of what we have. Mrs. Stevens, now I want to make sure I hear you correctly. On this report that you provide us, you stated that the ARPA dollars and even the CDBG dollars are not in this report. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay. Can you, I just mentioned, I just heard you say that to Ms. Gaston.
But I
that-
said it was not listed, you would not find it listed because those dollars live on a purchase order.
Got it. Is that purchase order listed in this
I
report?
don't have, I have never, I have not, as of today, I guess, ever provided an open purchase order report.
Got it. So if we're saying that it lives in your world, but the report you gives us, it does not live on here, then we would not know those all encumbrances beyond CDBG, ARPA. However, on this report, there is a line, and the line mentions We Thrive grants.
We talked about that.
Let me ask if it's okay, if I can ask my question. I don't know if you know.
We talked about that one, but go ahead.
I don't know if you have, I don't know if you knew I was getting ready to say, I don't think you do. However, it states that 9,000 has been sent, but 100,000 has been encumbered, right? So if we have the ARPA dollars, let's just say ARPA, We Thrive, dollars spent, dollars encumbered, dollars spent. We have the We Thrive grant, encumbered and spent, but ARPA, we don't have encumbered and spent reflective on this report. So can you advise why not?
So, again, a lot of things are legacy. So when the We Thrive Grant Fund was set up, it was set up to receive said grant dollars. Again, I believe we still need to change the name, but I just can't, I have to go through due diligence and properly do that. When the ARPA funds were applied for, they were applied for on behalf of the general fund of the city of North College Hill. So there was no need for those dollars to be separated from the general fund because they were for general fund expenses. The encumbrance says inside of the big bucket of the general funds, we are promising this amount of money to said project, said vendor, said entity. So it doesn't need to have its own fund because it was applied for on behalf of the general fund. It's just designated inside of the general fund.
Thank you for clarifying that. So I would like to ask, if it's not too much work for you, and I'd never want to add any more work to the already, I think this is a really good report. It's really, really good. But there are still just a couple of areas that I think could provide a little bit of clarification. One is, can you provide an open PO report for next month?
Okay.
Okay. And then two, can you also include a grant encumbrance report or list if they are not on the open PO report?
That does not exist.
Okay, so if we look at We Thrive, we show 9,000 spent, 100,000 encumbered.
But that would be on the open PO report.
Okay, so every.
Encumbrance is another word for, well, it's not another word, but encumbrance is a direct correlation to POs. So if anything that's an encumbrance, there's a purchase order that is directly associated with that column.
Okay, so we don't need the grant encumbrance report. However, you will provide next month going forward an open PO report.
I sure can.
Perfect. And then the last question I had for you was to, oh no, that was all. Thank you. That's all. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yes, here it is, Madam Chair. Ms. Dukestein or even Mrs. Stevens, do you know the total cost that was spent? Or I should say this, do you know the total cost that has been spent on public works building, i.e. the doors and any additional work, and any additional funding that will be spent on the maintenance, the upkeep, or even beautification of that space?
So again, I have to look at it. That's what
Okay.
I was trying to.
Sure.
Absorb, send an email. I'll respond and I'll add you to it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
are we asking directly just for Public Works any upgrades? Because I'm sure there's upgrades and things that's been done in other buildings with other departments that we probably haven't put on there yet.
Madam Chair.
So I'm going to let them answer that question.
I think that.
Are you asking council the
Yeah, that's
question,
what
or
I
are
was
you
gonna
asking
ask.
Ms.?
Did you
Yeah,
ask-
because
You're looking at council, so you're looking at administration, but you're asking.
I'm just looking around for clarification.
Madam Chair.
So I will tell you what I'm asking. I'm asking for essentially encumbered monies, and I want to know if those have been spent. So
That's a different question. That's why I was clarifying.
well, it's not. So I want to know how much money is left over to spend on this. That's
Got
what
it.
that's
That's
my
more of a
ultimate
direct.
goal to find out. So when money was spent on doors that we weren't told about, that depletes money out of the fund, or, sorry, use the wrong term, sorry, I'm backing up. That depletes money out of the encumbrance that I, as the finance chair, anticipated to have to spend on this.
Got it.
So
'Cause
that depleted that money.
I was under the impression that we were asking about overall projects around the whole city.
You are more than welcome to ask those
No,
questions.
that's why I was just clarifying, because I didn't know what direction you were going in. So I just wanted to clarify, because I didn't want to assume.
You have the
without-
floor. If you'd like to ask about the other buildings, go right ahead.
No, not at all.
All right.
That's Not even.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gaston, did you ask for the floor?
I did. Ms. Chichester asked her question, and I was just going to piggyback that if we're going to move forward with the ARPA funds and getting that building together, it had been requested how much money we have. I am concerned, not concerned, that's not the right word, but I'm curious because at one point, we talked about the $100,000 going towards the overall cost. And I know we're using that for a different project. So if it's already going over to this project. So how much money do we have now that's going to come out of our general fund? So let's look at the encumbered funds and what we have in our general budget, general fund item, and see where we are with moving forward with this building. So that's why money, dollars, cents, all of that matters, because we're running out of time to get a project started. If we're using money against that PO, from my understanding, and I could be completely wrong, it was for the 1,500 offices or the splash pad. So to learn that, and I love Public Works, you guys know that they're getting new doors and things like that, I just didn't know. So it's that $5,000, $7,000, $75,000 that's being used. Every dollar matters when it comes to that piece of paper.
Absolutely. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Sorry. I'm sorry, was that you?
Well,
Sorry,
if she
distraction.
wants to rebuttal, but I was just going to just make a general statement on that. I know the funds are encumbered for 1,500, right? That address.
Offices.
I don't know.
It does. It says, actually, it specifically says 1,500 administrative offices, if you want to be very specific, / splash pad, is what the legislation said that council approved.
So, to be fair, we've taken a lot of time to make decisions. We're in May, few days away from June, half the year, and still haven't made any decisions. And we knew last year how much money we had. We still didn't make those same decisions. I feel like when it comes to the 1,500, we're just circling. We keep revisiting. And I understand not wanting to send all the money back if there's projects within our city that we can move forward on and fix, especially if they're like minimal as of a door. But I get you wanting to know the total, but I just think we're debating too much on the topic and not asking more direct and clarifying instead of fishing questions. So for the sake of time, it's 7:36. We've asked our questions for that. Administration is respectfully saying they're going to get the answers for us. Can we percolate the rest of that to move forward to the next subject? They have the questions.
I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, though, but I do want to make one clarifying statement. You use the term minimal. We don't know if it's minimal. We don't know if it's the garage doors, or we don't know if it's a entry door. So we don't know that. And that's,
Madam President,
that's part of the,
respectfully,
that's part
they
of the
have
que-
to
the
legally
question.
ask, come back and ask us before they can write a certain amount of checks. Respectfully, though, I just wanted to make, but I'm just saying,
All right,
we're
all right,
we're
we are-
spending
we
a
are
lot
going
of
to
time
move on then.
debating and attacking. We should, let's move
Not an
forward. We've
attack.
asked
This
our
is-
questions.
This is questions. This is what we're here for, to work out the fine tune this situation.
Yes, we are,
Madam
but.
Chair.
All right. Is this on the
Mayor.
ARPA fund doors or whatever? I just blended everything together.
Madam
Sorry.
Chair.
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
So, to clarify, you did ask me to, in an email, I committed to responding to the email. I think the thing that is concerning is that it was presumed that I should report against it differently than I have always had outside of the parameters that are within the wheelhouse. So that's what I was trying to explain, that it would not have been different for me to report against those dollars than any other grant. That's all. I will commit to getting it. I can tell you that it is minimal.
Okay, thank you. All right, unless anyone has anything very important to say on this topic, we're going to move on. All right, moving on. The next thing on the agenda is the most current status of the State of Ohio audit. Ms. Stevens, do you have any idea? We've been, I believe, in the audit for over a year now, so I guess I'm curious
have
where we
been.
stand.
We're still gathering documents, actually. He just sent me a whole nother list of documents to pull,
No kidding.
because the
Sorry.
further down the rabbit hole we go, the more stuff we have to pull out.
All right. are you encouraged by that or discouraged? And I am asking for your opinion at this point, so,
I'm actually discouraged by that.
all right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Miss,
really
Uh,
quickly,
curious.
what year are they pulling from?
We're doing 2023 and 2024.
Thank you.
We do 2 years at a time.
thank you. Okay. All right, any other questions on that topic? All right, then our next topic will be the anticipated cost of council shirts. Ms. Gaston, do you have an update on that?
I do have an update. So I've been in communication with the vendor that the administration uses for the shirts that we already have. And there are two options. We talked about the polo and we talked about the Oxford collared shirts. So at minimum for 8 for the polos, it's going to be $112.80 at most. And again, this fluctuates only because of size. It's $158.08 for 8. So anywhere between 112 or 150 is how much it's going to cost for just a polo. For the Oxford collared shirt, at minimum is $288 for 8 or $352 for 8. So again, it's going to fluctuate based off of size, so on and so forth. I'm not sure if you guys were, I think all of us were there for the memorial service that we had here. Mary Nichols wore the Oxford collared shirt in the color that we are looking at. So once I take this to council floor, people can decide which one they want, whether it's we're all going to do polo, we're all going to do Oxford collared, or both. It's totally up to what council decides. That is all.
So, Mrs. Gaston, so I want to kind of repeat that in my, what I heard in my head. Sorry, now the words aren't even coming out. So what I think I heard is you're going to bring this to council as a whole and decide whether we're going with the polo or Oxford or both, and then we'll have a dollar amount at that point, and then we can do an appropriation.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what I'm understanding the process? All
100%.
right. Are there any questions on that?
No.
All right. Next on our agenda is we have a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor. Did everyone get a copy of that? Does everyone see it? Does anyone have any questions? Again, these are pretty standard, and as I understand it, this work has already been completed, and we are just being paid retrospectively. Is that true, Mrs. Stevens? Not?
That is correct. So they have already, the vendors have already been paid. The remediation has already happened. The owner has been sent an invoice and given time to pay, and they've made a decision not to pay. And that's how we ended up here.
Thank you. Does anyone on the committee have any objections to this moving to the council floor?
No.
Perfect, thank you. We will move that on.
I have a statement about these resolutions.
Sure. What do you have, Mrs. Juxtine?
So these resolutions, one, I'd just like to state the process. These are processed through code enforcement or building and code. And then they go from that department over to me, and then they go from me to Bill, and then Bill sends the legislation back for you all to, but the process, so I do know that Ms. Shiva Stevens is aware of what is happening here, but she doesn't really touch this. So the fact that you're directing that question at her is a slight to the process and the awareness of what's actually happening here. And I'd also like to go forward and say that at the last meeting that we had this in not suspending the readings, one of the things that I would ask that you all keep in mind is that because it is retrospectively asking for our money, you are putting a third reading, which can be 6 weeks or 3 months, depending on what season we do it in, and that is summer session or regular session, at being able to retrieve our money. So we've paid this stuff up front, and then we are through this legislation asking to retrieve the dollars back to the city. So every delay meaning putting it on more readings, or not more readings, but not suspending the readings, is keeping us from being able to retrieve the money back as soon as possible. So I would ask that you all think about that when you're deciding on these little routine pieces of legislation that are giving us the ability to collect these fees, that you're thinking about the longer that it sits in committee, the longer that it sits on council floor, that is our inability to collect the dollars.
So I have a, sorry, I'm gonna chime in first because I feel like I got called out there, so I'm gonna respond to that. What I was asking for is the process, and I believe that Ms. Stevens not handles the process on the back end, so she would know. So she doesn't know that she paid the vendor?
She does pay the vendor.
Yes, and that's what I was asking about.
Oh, okay, well then I apologize, you're right, she does know
Okay.
that.
Thank you. And the other point that I'd like to add, or actually a question, and I don't know who it should go to, so you two can decide who should answer this. But my question will be, because I know for myself, when I pay my property taxes, I do it twice a year. So I do it at the beginning of the year, and I do it at the middle of the year. So whether we suspended the readings on that last one or not, as long as we get it to the auditor before that midterm payment needs to be paid, it shouldn't really matter, because Mary Jo's, granted Mary Jo's not on this list, but Mary Jo hasn't paid her property taxes yet because they're not due yet.
They're not always assessed to the property tax. Sometimes they're assessed to the income tax, like when they pay, depending on if it's a commercial
This
property.
is called housing, where's it go?
This
The
one?
name is called vacant housing tax assessment.
Yes,
So this is on the housing, this is on the property, right?
but this is the property, but the one that went over to council the last time was for grass assessment, and that one is slightly different.
See, that's where I get confused.
So how is the other one charged to the individuals or property? I thought it all went on property tax. That's why we send it to the county auditor.
We send it to the county auditor as a backup, but they also can assess at their tax point. So whichever way we collect first.
Okay. All right, Ms. Curtin, I believe you had a question.
I do. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. A couple of questions. We have five properties here. One thing that I would love to see is the date in which we, the city, cut the grass, because transfers of ownership happens a lot. And looking at a few of these properties, there has been a recent transfer of ownership. I want to make sure as a city that we are responsibly not just assessing the property or the land, but the correct owner. So if you are able to look, Ms. Dukestein, do you know when did we abate the grass? I'll start with Savannah Avenue.
No, but we can add the dates.
Okay. And then when we cut the grass, I see we're charging $500. Is that correct? Or I'm sorry, yeah, $500.
So this piece of legislation, I think when I sent it over to Bill sent it back to me. This one actually is for the housing, the vacant housing tax. And so that first line there, it says the city authorized by law to abate the nuisance related to tall grass and trash removal. He must have just sent it right back over, but it should be modified to the vacant housing tax assessment as it opposed to tall grass. This is not tall grass remediation in this chart below. This is vacant housing tax assessment.
Okay, so let's
So
rewind a bit.
that needs to be changed.
I will speculate then that it's referencing the incorrect ordinance then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad we looked at
Everything about this is wrong. Well, majority.
I was confused. I was like,
What do you mean, the income?
In section 1.
Oh, yeah.
So my questions still remain the same. We have the wrong piece of legislation, the incorrect wording, but we are charging $500 for a vacant house because of what then?
So vacant house is an ordinance that we have here in North College Hill. When
Okay.
a vacant property is, there's an assessment that is required.
So then my next question is, when did we review this report? Or when did we determine these houses were vacant? County auditor's website says that the first 3 or 4 are owned. And looks like they're owner occupied. So I actually, so Ms. Zorb, I do have reservations. I would prefer we not move this legislation to the floor until Ms. Dukestein can confirm that she or anyone in the administration have confirmed these houses are truly vacant. When did we confirm the vacancy, and if there has been any transfer of ownership to ensure that we are assessing this fee to the correct party?
So,
Mrs. Curitan, I would have one comment about that. Just because it shows it's owned doesn't mean someone's in it.
Yeah, but one of these properties just sold.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
I'll take that.
so I think that, Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
I agree that we need to update and make sure, I'll send this back, just to make sure that the appropriate city ordinance is denoted in section 1, and then the language above is changed. However, there are some parameters that code enforcement uses to determine whether a building is vacant, and that is how he determines whether or not they get added to this list.
I don't know how you can determine a house is vacant. I mean, I thought a house that I saw yesterday was vacant, and nope, it's fully owned and owner occupied as well. So maybe you can provide a little bit more of, I don't know, what process he uses to ensure, does he knock on the door and wait for someone? Is there mail? Like, because I think about our senior citizens, and some senior citizens just don't get out. They don't have a car, they don't get out, their house may look or appear to be abandoned, but they're inside.
I definitely know that their checks and balances are beyond just knocking on the door and looking for appearance to be vacant. However, I will ask him to include what his metrics are that he uses to determine whether or not a property is vacant.
And then you'll also include the dates of when he did his assessment.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So are you wanting the dates of when he did the assessment on the actual legislation? Or are you just wanting that as side information?
I think more in this instance is better. It doesn't hurt to know what date did we do so. And I always think about what Ms. Clear says, our future selves. If someone else looks at this legislation, they'll say, oh, okay. Because again, a couple of these homes have just sold in the last 6 months. So I want to ensure that we are pursuing the correct owner and not just throwing something on that property or on that new homeowner, which they should not be responsible for.
Whether if he's gone through the qualifiers to verify that a property is vacant, whether it's on the previous owner or the current owner or whatever, the sale does not determine whether or not a property gets assessed a vacant assessment.
But let's just do this, because apples. What we're looking for is enough information so that when council receives this legislation, we don't have to ask any questions. Everything we need is here, or maybe our questions are minimum. So we know the date, we know the property address, we know the parcel number, the amount due, the fees. All of that information will allow us legislatively to move forward without having those delays, if you can.
So to be clear, I want to answer this very concisely. We would definitely like the dates to be added to the piece of legislation,
I
not
got
in a
that.
separate document.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to go back to my previous statement when I said this will be moved to council floor. This will not be moved to council floor until we get all the corrections that are needed. All right, we will move on to number 7. It says we will now discuss the part-time FOP contract. And I believe when Ms. Dukestein sent this to me, she stated that it is a replica, essentially, of the full-time contract, and it just is changed to the part-time. Is that Is that accurate, Ms. Dukestein?
Yes, I'm looking at the email I'm trying to look for the email that I sent you because I denoted the changes that were specific to this document in that email. Okay. So one of the things I know that is different is the detail conversation or the language around the detail, because there was an update where they were trying to make sure that full-time, it does model it where the full-time and the part-time details and the way that they're assigned are the same. However, there gives credence to allowing the full-timers the opportunity for the detail. And then they have some language that includes when they don't want to do them or when they decide to release them. It has to be like 72 hours in advance, and then the part-timers can pick them up. And then the pay scales are the same.
I did have a question, and honestly, I did not go back and look at the full-time ones, the full-time contract to cross-reference. But where did I put it? I had it here. With regards to the longevity pay, I don't see where it is. Where it's specific enough to say, is that continuous service, or is that like if you leave for 5 years and come back and that longevity pay is still in effect? It's not, right? Longevity means it's continuous service, doesn't it?
Longevity does mean that it is continual service, but the language in this part-time agreement models the language in the full-time agreement. So if you want me to send that to you, I can.
I have it. I just didn't look it up for the comparison's sake. I don't, and really where I'm going with this, and I know they've already agreed to this, so this might be a moot point. But I would think that the word continuous service should be listed in a longevity statement, because it's not longevity if you left and came back.
Well, and that I do understand, but I think with the trend in terms of FOP and the lateral moves, so we accept people in per the contract as a lateral hire, and they're everything that they did over there, like their sick time and all of that, comes right over. Their pay comes over. They join our team with, like, say for instance, they have 10 years behind them. When they come over as a lateral move, they come over in our pay scale with the 10 years. So it is continual.
So you're saying, now that you just opened up a whole nother can of worms. So I think I may have heard that if somebody worked for Mount Healthy for 10 years and they come here, now they're going to get longevity pay here for that 10 years?
No, I'm not saying that. I
Okay,
was just
so
saying
can
that
we just stay on the topic of longevity then?
That's fair. I will look up the full-time agreement, because that's the only way that I'm able to speak specifically to longevity pay.
It's in section 13.8 on the part-time.
Madam Chair, repeat that again, please.
13.8, section 13.8. So I'll read this for the people in the audience. Section A says, any part-time police officer who has completed at least 5 years of service with North College Hill Police Department serving as a part-time officer who has been compensated for a minimum, and it lists the hours. But doesn't specifically say it's continual service, and I would think that that's a factor.
Madam Chair, so are
Yes.
you suggesting that you're reading that to believe like they could work for North College Hill for 2 years and then leave for a year, come back and work for North College Hill for 3 years and then qualify? Is that how you're interpreting that?
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay.
exactly what.
I know that wasn't the spirit of it, but I can understand I think I understand what you're saying.
I agree that that wasn't the spirit of it. I can make sure that continuous is added in the language under longevity pay for part-time. And just because I do think that the nature of the full-time agreement is also in that same spirit, I can talk to them about adding that language. And if it is not there, I'm not seeing it in the full-time agreement, but I also just am not seeing longevity as a whole. So for part-time FOP agreement, bargaining agreement, we can add continuous. If we added that, are you then open to moving it to council floor? Under
I am.
longevity.
How does the rest of the committee feel about it?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Cureton.
Ms. Duxine, did you say they already agreed to this contract?
No, it's in committee now for you guys. I mean, they agreed to this version, but I know that the spirit behind longevity of pay is continuous. So if that language would help clarify it for those of us that have to live in this agreement, I think that that would not be difficult to add.
I'm not sure when you say it's already been agreed to. Can you identify the parties?
So the process for
Another process, just the parties.
they have talked about it with their FOP representative and the part-time people that help kind of shape this. They have agreed to, this is the terms that the city and the FOP and the employees, part-time employees, would agree to, this language as it exists. And so the next step is that we bring it to council. If
No, I know the
council,
process. I'm just asking about the parties. So the parties is the FOP representative, the person who works with part-time, and then the city, correct?
yes,
Anybody else?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on this topic?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Duxine.
I have a question. So are you all wanting to see that language, continuous employment in
Continuous
the
service.
longevity portion of this agreement? And if so, are you willing to move that to council floor once it has that?
I'm looking at my fellow committee members for their perspective.
Okay, and I also did find the longevity in the full-time agreement. It's in section 15. It says longevity incentive. Longevity compensation shall be paid to full-time employees who have at least 5 years of service at the following schedule. And then it
The
gives,
same verbiage.
yes, so it's the exact same verbiage in both of them.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms.
Ms.
Cureton.
Duxine, how many part-time police officers do we have?
One.
Thank you. And is there a desire to
I'm
get?
sorry, there's three, isn't there?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about a different department.
There was 3, but one just retired because he's trying to come back. So it's really only 2 right now.
Yeah,
It's only 2 right now.
sorry.
Maybe I'll ask this question. We're at 2? Then how many are we slated if we were to be fully staffed on part-time police officers? How
No.
many would that be?
3.
3. Okay.
All right, committee members, how do we feel about adding the word continuous and then move this to council floor?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Cureton.
Ms. Gaston?
I'm sorry, Ms. Gaston. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I would, if the wording is corrected, yes, move it to council floor.
Ms. Curitan?
Yeah, yeah,
Ms.
for sure.
Chichester?
Yes, rather.
Is that yes?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Are you, so you do know that that leaves the full-time one language different? I was wondering about that.
I think it needs to go on the full-time too, but that's my opinion. All right, so let's move on to the next one is the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks billing arrangement with Rumpke. So I've done some digging, and I noticed on my bill, which I brought with me tonight, my water bill, it's called other charges on my water bill, and I believe that's where the Rumpke bill lives. Where it used to be, it used to be like $17, and it fluctuates, varies a little bit depending on, apparently on how many billing days, which I didn't understand either because they're only going to pick up twice in a month, but whatever. I let that part go. But the other part is it's now almost $30 a month. So it did nearly double. So then I looked at the contract, the Rumpke contract that council did approve. And it says for a single family trash, which is what I am, it's 13. Are you okay? Do you need water? All right. For single family trash, it's $13.75 a month. For right now, through 2027. And then, there is the recycling fee, which is $5. So total, that's $18.75 a month, which is kind of what I used to pay. And then I also saw that there is in the contract, there is the leaf collection, which is like $210 per hour, which I don't know what that would, I don't know how many hours that is, so I don't know what that totals out to be. So I'm imagining, and I don't know this for sure, so if I'm wrong, I need to hear that. But I'm imagining that you guys have some magic number of what those leaf hours are. You use that billing, and then tried to come up with some type of average? I don't know. So, okay, I'll stop rambling. Can you help me understand how you come up with the $30 that we're being billed? I tried to get, sorry, I'm still rambling. I did try to call Waterworks to ask them if they charged like a service charge, and again, I'm using air quotes, which, whatever. So is there some kind of service charge that is included on that? I'm sure there is, for Waterworks to handle this, and then help me understand how that dollar amount came about.
So I'm going to start the answer, and then I'll let Ms. Shiva Stevens not clarify if there's any spaces where, because she worked on some of it and I worked on some of it. So we needed to submit to Waterworks a chart that indicates what our residents would pay. So what they decided to do when we submitted it, they collected for the whole, well, what they're going to do is they're collecting for, it started in March, our contract for March and April, but it didn't reflect the increase on your bill until May. So March and April will be collected for in May, and then it will drop back down to a more reasonable rate in June or July. She's still letting me know if she can make the update by June or July, but it will be updated per what you would be getting charged per month without the 2 extra months, which is May and April, on your next bill. So typically they would have spread it out through the year, but they did not do that. So we have to,
When you say spread it out, you mean those 2 months? Okay.
and so it's a little elevated in May. And there is a service fee.
Do you know what that amount is?
I do not. Ms. Shiva Stevens not maybe better equipped to answer that question.
Please.
The service, well, we pay 5% of all dollars collected. That's basically what the Greater Cincinnati Water Works charges us to do the collecting.
Okay. Can you help me understand? So, and I heard the whole
So
extra
let's
2 months.
So let's
But-
say, for instance, number one, the bill had to go up.
I get that.
Okay. So if your bill used to be $16, it was probably $30 this month. Next month, it'll go to 20.
So I'm going to tell you I made a phone call.
I know, I'm telling you what we told them to do based on we sent them the numbers. We understand that because the desire is to recoup all dollars necessary in 1 year so that we are not under collecting, because we were never.
I know that has
Okay.
happened in the past.
So
I'm
what we
well
told
aware of
them,
that.
I sent them a lovely little chart, and the chart said this is what the rate needs to be in order to recoup all dollars for the entire year per these areas, because it's like 6 different areas based on how many units are in the house, another certain amount for the size of can you have, another amount for just the refuse recycling. And so we took that number, which was super high for 1 month, and then next to it is another number that says, but this is what the ongoing number should be, because we implemented 3 months late. So if someone told you when you called down there that that's not what's going to happen, then that means that the lovely lady who got the chart is not necessarily communicating with everybody on the phones in the call center, because this is literally a data entry component. And she doesn't work in the call center. She's actually someone's administrative assistant. And so she's going to put in this other column of numbers going forward for the rest of the year.
So what the person, I assume in a call center, what she told me, and I will tell you, she put me on hold several times and went and checked with people because I had a bunch of questions. So she told me that our billing rate for 2026 is $28.12 for what I said, the whole first single family trash, single family recycle. So, so if that's the case, it's $28.12, and I was charged $29.99. That almost doesn't sound like I paid. I can't believe I'm going to say this. It almost sounds like I did not pay enough to be retrospective to be retroactive for those other 2 months.
I believe that she's not quoting the correct ongoing rate. I think
Okay.
I do not believe that she's quoting the correct, because she would not have insight
On that rate.
on that piece of paper. She would only have insight into the rates that were entered in the system on our behalf. So she wouldn't know that there's another set of numbers, or he or she would not know that.
Madam Chair.
So you think this $28.12 is not accurate?
I think it's going to go down. No, it was accurate for what it needed to do, but I do not believe that number doesn't sound right for me, and I don't have my document in front of me. But I'm at the single family house, because it's literally 4 pieces to 1 rate. But that number doesn't sound right to me.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, I got 2 people in line, and I hear you, but sorry.
You're fine.
How'd you factor the leaves in? Did you factor the leaves in? How's
So I will be
Second.
honest, I did not factor, I don't have any document, I don't have a line item on my algorithm that says leaves. The way that the bill comes from Rumpke, it tells you the number of houses, and like for single family home, it's charged this amount. For 3 to 3 and 4 family homes is charged this amount. It's this amount for the 10-gallon can for recycling. And so I did my calculation based on those very specific rates that are literally documented on our bill, like exactly 3,000 of these or and so forth. So the leaf collection component, I don't know, that's not us.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I want to first address the leaf collection. So there's 2 leaf collections. There's the leaf collection that you put in the bags and that they are included in your weekly pickup that you can put out. And you can put out up to 6 bags. And then there's the leaf collection that we go around and we pick up.
And that's the one we're being billed for, right? This is for the special days.
The special days, yes, but we've always traditionally paid that separately. We have not paid that. You all do not. So the city has taken up that cost. We haven't billed our residents for that. So the residents get the 6 bags of leaf pickup that they can put out to the curb in leaf bags in addition to what they pay here. The leaf pickup with the special leaf pickup where you put as many bags as you want at the curb on designated days, which in the past we've done 3. That is a separate cost, and we, the city, pay that. We don't charge the residents for that. And to answer your question about the monthly fee, you said that the single-family home was $13.75, and then the recycle is $5. So that brings you to a total of $18. So you have to take the difference of what you would have paid from the March and April, and then that collectively was put on the difference that you also would have paid the increase for May, and then that plus the previous months is what you will see in May, and then it should be auto-corrected. So I'm saying to you, since you have the contract in hand with the updates, that should show you that you have a set of numbers that the people at Waterworks, Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, do not have at the call center level. So we have to send it over to the people that we negotiate our contract with, which is who tells us that the upcharge, as Ms. Shiva Stevens not referenced, is 5%. And then that is who we provide the chart to.
Thank you. Ms. Curitan, do you still have a question?
Thank you. A couple of things, and thank you so much, Madam Chair. So does the city have an assigned municipal liaison for these type of situations? Because I continue to hear you all say call center, call center, call center.
Yes.
We do. So if we have an assigned municipal person who works directly with the contract negotiations, why are we engaging with the call center and not going directly to that person?
So as
That was
a
probably
resident,
just me. That was just me.
Oh,
She said she called the call
I did.
We
Oh,
didn't say we called the call
got it. Okay, good. I was
Sorry,
concerned.
that's all on me.
Sure, no
I
problem.
called the number on the bill.
Okay, yeah, got it. And then just to also confirm, this is a wholesale agreement. Is that correct, Ms. Dustin?
when you say,
Let me ask you this question. Who was a part of the negotiations from the city for this contract that required Mrs. Stevens not to send a chart and then for them to choose the month? There had to be some kind of communication. And partly the reason why I'm asking is because one thing that I believe I did not see previously that I would love for the city and administration to do better is to communicate with the residents when things like this occur. When we get our bill and we saw the increase, we had no prior knowledge. Now, I do believe that the knowledge that you all shared today, that they billed us in May, but then you anticipate to go back down in June, and it was to cover or recoup for March and for April. Having that information available in a shared space for the residents in which we serve would allow them to know that council and administration just not go blindly and agree to something where all of our GCWW services and Rumpke are doubled for the rest of the next 3 or 4 years. So the question is there a way that any public spaces we have, and I'm going to say, because I saw on the city's website, we post things that are happening in the city. If there is some kind of memorandum that can be put out, And if that can be also posted on our social pages, because citizens don't know, and they may or may not watch this meeting. We just want to make sure they understand what occurred and then what will be occurring and where we finally will land amongst all of this.
So in answering the question, yes, there is a contract, and we work with people at Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. Ms. Shiva Stevens Knott and myself sat in on that meeting, and initially, when we mapped out this plan, they were supposed to put the increase over all 12 months, so citizens would not have seen that significant of an increase. But it was done differently, and we were communicated with that change and the significance of that change. I hadn't even received my bill as a resident, and nor had Ms. Shiva Stevens Knott. It came to us by way of citizens calling, and when we started to dig into it, we discovered the nuance and how they decided to roll it out. We were not informed of that. It was not communicated with us in that way in the meeting. However, I do agree that now that we have learned it and we've been able to investigate ourselves and understand, I put it in my news article, and I'm going to take a portion of that snippet and put it on the website.
Perfect.
And so we do plan to communicate out to the residents what it is. I just wanted to secure the actual day, whether it will be in June or either July, when you'll see the decrease on the bill, before I put communication out, because I did not want to have residents expecting that it go down specifically in June and it doesn't happen until July.
Fair enough.
So I'm waiting for that confirmation back, and I'll make those adjustments and we'll be putting it out.
And then, thank you so much. And then, Madam Chair, I also heard you mention that you're going to put it on the newsletter and you're also going to put it on the website. But there are a number of people who may not see either. So if we can cover our social page, that would be efficient if you're able to do so.
Yes, I think the difficulty is I had not removed or been remiss. Some of the residents asked once I got the date if I could put it on the socials. I just want to do a letter that's probably different than what will be in the newsletter and on the website on the socials, because socials is just a short blurb. So yes.
Okay,
all of
great.
the
Thank
above.
you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
Ms. Dukesting, did you see my email about the waterworks pop-up shops that they're doing to help residents understand about the changes that happen to their bill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions about that billing, that process,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
Ms. Curitan had began to ask who the assigned municipal person was that we work with, but that didn't get answered. Is there a number that we can call if we need it, or no?
So that is an internal administrative connection. So the residents, if you're calling for purpose of your bill, then you would call the call center.
Perfect.
It's just that I don't think that the information has dwindled down for North College Hill residents, which is why we would put the communication out there so that you guys get it from us.
Thank you.
All right, are we finished now? We good, everyone? Perfect. All right, next on the agenda, Ms. Dukestein asked me to add the salary ordinance, but I did not see any kind of email or anything that was sent regarding that.
So I was going to just send the salary ordinance updates, but we had to rescind our offer to our Public Works candidate. But we had 1 and 2, and so we have another offer out there, and I will be able to further update that. So my ask is that we put that on for executive session in the meeting, and we can talk about the details of all of the above.
I will ask for that. All right, we will now move on to old business. At the April meeting, I had requested a copy of the debt service, and I believe there was some additional information that we were still expecting.
It's in the back of your packet.
Did I not see it?
It is, yeah. Let me look.
Did any other members of the committee have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Gaston?
Ms. Stevens, I'm looking at section 4, budget planning, the consolidated 5-year. Is that what you're talking about?
Annual debt obligation report. Looks like this.
32,
32, Miss? Okay, thank you.
31, 30.
So, let's see.
Madam Chair.
Found it.
Yes, Ms. Curitan?
So for full transparency, I don't know what these mean, and I don't know if the citizens would either. We have CB22T. If we can, and these are considered loans, CB12W, CB05X, I have no idea. Granted, there's no interest rates, and we are paying minimum, it looks like.
Section 1 speaks to that. Says that is the Ohio Public Works Commission loans. Those are our street loans.
Our street loans,
Yeah, to get our streets fixed.
not the levy. We have a levy and then we have loans as well? Do we have a date in which the loans were taken out? I see the maturity dates, but I'm not sure if they were 5-year, 10-year, 15, 50-year.
OPWC loans are, I want to say are they 30 years?
I think they are.
I want to say they're 30-year loans. This is standard practice for municipalities to use OPWC in order to get their roads fixed.
So it tells us the principal, it tells us our annual payment. What I'm looking for, I'm looking for it to all kind of be together. Is there a section that lists our the loan type, the principal, the annual payment, and the remainder due?
I mean, that would be ongoing. What you're looking at right now is like OPWC, there's a total loan amount. What is it? Yeah, it is 30 years. Yeah, I was like, I thought it was 30 years.
Typically interest-free loans.
Yeah, they are. They're 100% interest-free. So you just pay that amount until they're gone for 30 years. So for the OPWC, I don't have an amortization schedule. For everybody else, you'll notice that you'll see where we are currently because they have interest and all that good stuff connected to them. Because we have 5 different kinds of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5.
Stephen's not, and some of these are perfectly spaced on the page. Some of them, the annual payments is kind of cut. It was almost like when you took the screenshot, it should have scrolled over.
Oh, I do say that. Oh, well.
I mean, I can get the gist, but maybe we can take a look at that for next month.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Curitan?
Thank you. So it says year 2028, beginning balance 26,000.
Hold on, what
Oh,
what are we talking about?
We're on the same space that Ms. Zorb was talking about, where you
Which-
didn't scroll all the way over.
But which section?
It's the year 2028, so it is under the equipment leases for police and fire.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So 2028, beginning balance of 26,889.27. It has the year, but then it has an ending balance of 0.
It'll be paid off.
Okay, that's good. But how can we pay out something in 2028 before we pay out something from 2024, 5, 6, and 7?
Dependent.
What do you mean? Into where the beginning balance is 2024. I'm telling you how the. What do you mean?
So what you're
That's the-
doing
this
is a
is the
balance
same-
forward. Is that correct? You're pulling the balance at the end of 2027. The balance will be 26,889.27. We're beginning 2028 with that same balance, and then we're ending it. But I'm not seeing how we can do so if we have interest.
Because the interest is right there, $1,422.45. So the total payment that you'll make that year is $28,311. And then, so at the end, I mean, again, you do realize the interest rates and times and months and.
I do. What I'm
Okay.
asking you is, can you look at 2027, and when we end that year
At 28,889.27.
at 26,889.27?
Okay,
Okay, and then we start at 2028,
same amount, right?
and then there's a column that reflects the interest.
That's the 1,422.
Okay, but
So-
the payment is 28,311. Because
Okay.
the payment reflects the interest that is gonna accrue during that year.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just want to be clear, not just for
Oh,
us,
I'm
but
like-
because.
Well, no,
Yeah.
because this is like your mortgage. This is a normal amortization.
But there's people out here in the audience who don't see the reports, and so then that gives me my next question: How
Okay.
can we make these reports public?
I don't.
Ms. Dukestein.
Yeah.
Aren't these put on the website with all of your,
So let me ask this
I don't
question.
currently add them to the minutes, but I can.
Mayor Nichols, is there a way similar to how Ms. Dukestein uploads her report? Can her department's reports also be added in that same space and/or an alternative folder on the
Are
OneDrive?
you referring to Madam Chair? Are you referring to Ms. Sheba's?
Not just limited to her, but if there's another department that also provides the reports, but just using this report as an example, because citizens, like, what are they talking about? I want them to be able to see exactly what we see and what we discuss as well, similar
So-
to how Ms. Dukestein has uploaded her
I'm
report.
sorry, Madam Mayor, can I cut it in real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So, Ms. Carrington, I think I would like to start adding because our minutes are going to talk about this
Mm-hmm.
report, so I think I should have these, I think I'll start including these with my minutes, if
Great.
that's all right.
That's
Now,
perfect.
now, if you want to talk about other reports, that's fine, but as far as this particular report, I think I
Yeah.
do want to add these to the
Okay.
minutes.
Madam
Because there'll be
Chair.
that cross-reference there.
Sure.
Make
Perfect.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Go ahead, continue, Mayor Nichols.
Well, I'm not opposed to any report being available for our citizens to see, but we need to consider the amount of information that are in these reports and look over the reports to see what exactly we can put out, because some of these reports have particular vendors on there. We may not necessarily want to put all the information out there. So I think it's just a matter of us streamlining it, looking
sure.
over it, seeing what we can put out. And then, you start to talk about space on especially on our website.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, who said it first? Ms. Chichester.
I was just going to pose that maybe the committees, when you upload the minutes and the agendas, that maybe these documents go all together with each committee. So that way, if you're looking at the minutes and you're looking at the documentation that goes with it, instead of having administration, it'll be a council thing. So we,
Yeah, that's what.
yeah.
that's what
So I
said.
just wanted to make, for
Yeah.
every committee, I don't think it should just be.
I can't
budget
make
and finance.
commitments for other committees.
No, I was
though,
just going to
right?
pose,
I can only
maybe
make
we
a
bring
commitment
that
for my
up.
Madam Chair,
own. Sure. Yes.
I just want to be cautious about when we're uploading, because when you see those vendors, I'm not saying that it happens, but it happens. Someone sees something on the report, then our vendors start getting a whole lot of phone calls.
But I'm looking at that part right now. I think Ms. Stevens not already redacted that information. So
The
for
vendor?
that exact reason.
no, they're still on
Our
some.
vendors aren't, this report
that
was
was
not
already-
designed to be public, but I can make it designed to be public.
Yeah, that was, Madam
So,
Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
We just
May-
don't want our vendors getting a whole bunch of phone calls,
Yeah,
people
we had that
calling them.
discussion
So tell me,
Friday.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Curtin.
So I think, Ms. Stevens, I think we kind of talked about your report and how you have modified it for us this month. It is a very thorough report. Thank you for that. If you want, thank you. If you want to customize this report for public viewing in your way, and then I'm sure it'll be fine. What I would love, and the purpose and the heart behind this is that we talk about a lot of different things, and these are all tax dollars that we're talking about, and grant dollars that belong to the citizens. I just want there to be a greater level of transparency and understanding of how the dollars are being spent.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Stevens, no.
I, as a citizen, I think we want to remind everybody that I'm also a citizen. I don't disagree that transparency is important, but however, I do also believe that discretion has value.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with giving our citizens information, but sometimes information overload is often something that backfires. Now, I agree that in our process of allowing transparency, which is something that I do believe that I've brought to this particular seat and continue to bring to this seat. It is actually also a part of my article in this in this quarter's newsletter about giving a high-level view of the citizens' finances for public consumption. I don't know that we want our public, I don't know that we want this information about interest rates, balances of our loan. The debt picture for our citizens should be at a pretty high level. Not saying that the information isn't available. We all make use of records requests. Most of this information is uploaded to Ohio Checkbook. It's actually something currently that is in the state legislature about, revamping what information municipalities are going to be mandated to provide. But I don't know that we want to open up our books and just lay them bare.
I never said that.
And so I would ask that we think about what information that we're putting on a billboard as opposed to the information that we leave in libraries. Both are available. They just are available in a different way.
All right, Ms. Stevens, let me ask this question a different way. So I will not start with this particular document to add to the minutes. But my question back to you could be what would be your estimated time to get me a version that could be readily digestible for public consumption?
So my thought actually is the first page is public consumption. It tells the complete debt picture of the city. It tells what our annual principal across all of our debts are, our interest, how long we're in debt till, these things that are maturing. And it separates our OPWC and from our bonds. So then we can even see those two components. Now, if we want to add maybe the remaining principles, like the names of them, I could possibly drop that on that front. But that high level summary to me is good information that at least allows the public to understand even things like why we're choosing to move in certain directions. I think it's an important statement because I have seen in social media and heard in conversations, well, we've got $8 million in the bank. Yeah, but we owe $2. Which now would they do it? Probably not. But every one of our debtors can make the decision tomorrow and say, because of our financial situation, we're calling everything due right now. And so having that high level information, I think, is of value for all of our citizens, which then feeds the narrative around how we're moving as our dollars come in. And again, I agree. I believe just summaries are what's valuable for our citizens. And I hope, make sure you read my article in the newsletter this month, because I really thought about, from a citizen's perspective, what do I want to see? And what would I want to know and then, but I don't want to know too much because that's just not my world. Ms. Curitan alluded. She said OPQC. What is all of that? So those details, those are details that are in my world. That's not in your executive boardroom world. And so I consider our citizens to be the board. They are the executive board of our amazing city, and they want to know high level. How much do we owe? Do we pay our bills on time? Do we have a good credit rating? Are people getting paid?
Madam Chair.
Again, a digestible
Yeah,
version that they can understand. Yes. Ms. Dukestein.
So, my question is to Ms. Shiva Stevens, not. So the first 4 pages of the document that you deliver on a monthly basis, which is the Budget and Finance Committee monthly report, the executive summary, the expenditure summary, and the outstanding checks and check clearance summary, because it's on Ohio Checkbook, will be a good place to start.
Very-
So,
Very good place.
and then the annual debt obligation report. So for me, just thinking through transparency, what's palatable, I think this should be given maybe once a year because it doesn't really
It doesn't
change.
change.
And it should be, and I can't tell you what you want to include, but from month to month, you're just watching what is put in this document.
Paint dry.
Paint dry is a good word. But
Watching
I
paint
think
dry.
either do you want it, and you can think about it, but it's the same thing over and over again. So you should consider either putting it up in January or maybe December. I think that gives you a good comparison to from the previous year to this year, and it keeps a rolling space without over exhausting people with information. And it keeps us accountable as a city that we are doing and spending the dollars exactly the way that we said that we would.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
is it safe to say that the only time that number would change is if we were to do another street project?
Yep.
Which we're
And
about
then
to do,
could be
right?
updated at that point.
Which, and I think it's also fair to say, because this was good, this was clarifying information before, we don't pay our debt monthly. We pay our debt semi-annually.
Not all debts.
There's no debt that we pay monthly, and there's 3 of them that we pay annually. 1 payment a year. So OPWC is semi-annually, and then everybody else is once a year.
Ms. Curitan, did you have another question?
I do, and not to belabor the time, I just wanted to just maybe give a different perspective that we can agree on what's best for our citizens. Mrs. Stevens, you have a master's in accounting, I have a master's in business administration, and I think we serve with some pretty awesome women. Not everybody has that level of understanding, right? So I want to give regard to all. And I consider it this way, if the city has a certain dollar amount, but I'm hesitant to share with them how that dollar is being spent, that to me is a red flag. Not because there is a red flag, but it just shows as a red flag that we are saying, I'm going to give it to you once out of the 365 days out of the year, or I'm going to redact certain information because I don't think you will understand it. Let's just keep it high level. Because these are public dollars and we are a public institution called to serve, I believe that we can meet in the middle on the frequency and even the level of information, but I don't want us to just say the citizens need this. Although we all live here, we all serve here, I want us just to consider the people who watch this video, those who come to our meetings and are living here. They may not know. So if we could just consider how we go forward with this discussion to not limit on what we want to offer, but if we are transparent, then that allows the citizens, business owners, those who are interested in coming here to know that city isn't doing something where they don't want me to know. Not saying that is the case, but it can be presumed that's the case because we're saying, oh, you only need this. Oh, I'm only going to give this to you one time a year. So if we can just consider maybe, I don't even know, maybe quarterly or something of that nature. And if they have questions on how their dollars are spent, I do believe that it is fair. So Ms. Zorb, I want to just throw this back to you as chair. If you want to chew on it, the frequency, the level of information, and consider the dynamics of our community. What would they like to see? There are some who have degrees, there are some who don't. There are some who are young, there are some who are seasoned. What will serve everyone together?
Thank you, and I appreciate that. So Ms. Stevens, I know you put a lot of work into this document. I'm wondering if, because along those lines, that educating our citizens line, is it possible to add on that executive summary line? Because it does look like we have $8 million. Is there a way we could add another box that says restricted funds?
So
If we're only sharing part of this document,
which
can we make?
no, but it's all there.
It is.
It's all there. For instance, let's look at the revenue summary, which I think is amazing. I actually like this report a whole lot.
Hang on, we were saying we are only going to share certain documents with the public.
No.
So that's why I'm.
My biggest thing was I don't think that we want to put our entire debt life out there, is what I was stating. I said high levels. I think this is high level information, especially since it doesn't change every month. When you're only making a payment, the interest rate isn't going to change. It's already fixed. The amount of your bill isn't going to change. It's already fixed. I believe that as it relates to our finances, that, like I said, the first 5 pages are incredibly detailed. They tell us not just, number one, they focus on the general fund, which is the non-restricted fund. That's the 100% their tax dollars, and how it's managing the city. And then there are some details around the fire levy is in here and how those that is listed, the lease levy, the senior levy, and then everything else. I actually, on a lot of days, I actually think this is too much information because a lot of times it spurs other questions, but I enjoy the discussion. And so I'm fine having the discussion. So it's not that I'm trying to keep things away from our citizens. It is that, again, and I like this analogy, so I'm gonna repeat it: billboard versus library. Both have information that's available. One of them you just have to glance at as you're driving down the street. The other you have to make a request. You have to go get it. In the meantime, this high-level summary, first 5 pages of the report, are available, whether you attach that to your report. And then quarterly, I am doing a roll-up of what we've done quarter previous. And that's an additional information. Because just to be transparent, which I believe is something that I've been living here for over 10 years, and I've never seen it. I've never seen from the finance manager print anything about the city's finances. Ever.
You had to be in one of these seats to get it.
And that's the problem.
And then you
Madam
had to fight
Chair.
for it. Yes. Ms. Dukestein.
So I think in the same sentiments to Ms. Stevens, I was saying or suggesting that you consider, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, I just think it's a really good start to the initiative that you're trying to introduce to budget and finance to post with your minutes. And that is the first couple of pages where it talks about the summaries and then drop down to 7. And I think 7 is important because it is already on Ohio checkbooks, but it offers a different level of transparency. The only one that I was referring to that needed to probably only do one time a year was the debt summary.
Yeah.
And that's primarily because it doesn't change. But the other ones I think would be beneficial on a monthly basis for citizens. It provides a lot of information and a lot of clarity. and it speaks to the funds that are restricted versus the ones that are, that have balance that we're carrying year to year. When you get past that, you're starting to get into the sticks and weeds, and it will require Ms. Shiva Stevens not to go back through the documents and remove things. And I think that there's a very good level of information in documents 1 through 5, and then 7.
All right, I'll take a deeper look at this, and
I like this one. And this one. The month-to-date revenue report and the budget pacing. I really like the budget pacing. You know, you do a report, you like, I really like this one. I do.
if Steven's not, I'm gonna ask you again.
Yep.
What would your timeline look like to create just a scaled-down version of this?
Oh, I'm going, what?
Because really, you've already done all the work. If you can just, you want to send me those page numbers, or you want to put it in a new
I'll just put it in a
document?
new file. I put it in a new file for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
I think those are good.
by the end of the week?
Oh, God, yeah.
Perfect.
Because I have to check y'all off.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. I'm sorry. Committee, can we move on?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have the Senior Center Revenue 2024. There were additional questions from the April meeting. We were looking for the quantity of rentals per year. Do we have that information somewhere?
The quantity of rentals? I don't
Yes.
remember anyone asking me that question. Did you ask me that question?
Madam Chair.
Yes, it was in the minutes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
Ms. Dukestein, I asked you for the revenue and the number of rentals. You provided the revenue. We wanted to get the number of rentals for
Okay.
2025 and then 2026. And I don't think we have anything from 2024.
Mayor, do you know that answer? Because she approves those.
Where are those contracts stored then?
Yeah, we had the dollar amount, the dollar amounts were provided. We're also asking for the
They're
quantity.
stored with Mr. Torrey. He has the contracts. Yeah, I don't want to guess.
Is that something we could get before the next committee meeting?
I'll send it out
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I ask what we're looking for as far as,
Did we rent this facility 5 times? Did we rent this facility 20 times?
I understand that, but is there a goal or something that we're trying to achieve that we're looking?
I did not
Transparency?
ask the original question, so I
Okay.
don't know.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Curitan.
So it goes back to what we just discussed. This is revenue for the city. It's a great idea. Just kind of want to see what direction we're going towards and how we can utilize that, because I want to say one small thing. While I sat in the audience for a number of years, I always heard the statement, we have $9 million in the bank. We have $9 million in the bank. And I'm glad Mrs. Stevens not said, well, we have $8 million, but $2 million of that is reserved. So it looks like we really need to find additional dollars that can strengthen our general fund. And the rental of this building is one of those areas. And so, yeah, that's why.
Thank you.
All right, are we good on that one too? So we'll have that by tomorrow, by end of day tomorrow, from Ms. Dukestein.
Madam President, I just want to provide some clarity to your question, Ms. Curitan. You're asking for 2025
And yes,
and 26?
yes, mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, next on, under old business, we
I did
were,
not do my homework.
I'm sorry.
I did not do my homework.
Oh, all right. Do you
I know. I got a lot going on, y'all.
want to tell me when you can have your
Your
homework?
comparisons, yeah. I'll have that by
You
week's
didn't
end.
say the dog ate your homework.
I did not do that homework. I didn't. I do apologize.
Madam Chair.
That's fair, because I'm gonna tell you that I didn't do my homework on the next one.
I was like, I did not do my homework.
The next one was mine, and I didn't do it. All right. The file-proof cabinets, I was supposed to follow up with Ms. Clear, and I did not. So that one's on me. All right, we will move on. The next one is the rental registration dollar amount and quantity of registrants collected in 2025. Apparently, Ms. Dukestein, you were supposed to get us.
I have that information. That's what Ben was getting me when he first came in. So I know we have, last time we reported, we had about 60% collection. And so, I have the, so what this typically looks like is this information that I have here is compiled and put in a piece of legislation for council to come before council floor to be able to look at how many of the participants in this program or required participants are left yet to pay. And so we have about 60% of our annual rental registration distribution paying, and the other 40% have not.
So 60% is paid, 40% unpaid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Cureton.
So can you quantify that a little bit more and put put a number on the 60%
So
that identifies the quantity?
So I'm unable to put a number on the quantity only because for example, Vinebrook, they play in lump sum. And so, I know that they paid all of theirs, but I don't know how much for each property.
Okay.
So Ms. Shiva Stevens and I will have to work together to get that, exact number. But she needed some of these documentations that were just delivered to me today.
And how do you get 60/40?
Based on the amount of payments that have been marked off the list. So Ben collects the dollars and, adds to the Excel spreadsheet who has paid and who hasn't. And so the paid amount of individuals is 60% of the list.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Cureton.
So we're talking about 2025 or 2026? What
This-
year are you providing to Ms. Stevens not?
This right here is 2026.
Okay. The question that we asked about at our last BNF meeting was for 2025.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought
It's
you
okay.
were getting 2026.
We do, but I don't want to talk about 26 until 25 is finalized and complete. So if we still have 40% for 2026, that's amazing. Then I would think that in 2025, we have 100% or close to that as possible.
Well, we never collect 100%.
Well, it's close to that, but greater than 60. If we are at 60% for 2026, then what is our percentage for 2025?
So I don't know. I have to add that to my list, 25, because I think last time when we were speaking about this, you were asking about the current year, and I
Oh, yeah.
specifically said,
It was 2025.
that's fine, I will get 2025. So for 2025, once we collect, and then we send the pieces of legislation through, or the piece of legislation through, to finish collecting on the ones legally, which looks like a lien, for the rest of it. And we don't know when that money comes in until we get our payments. So that's a little more difficult to track.
So just to clarify, talking about 2025, the legislation is brought to council at the end of 2025 or in 2026. I've not seen anything for rental registrations.
Rental registration, so we're getting ready to compose 26 rental registration for 26 and 26. 25's rental registration legislation was composed in 25.
Got it. So what I'm looking for is the total dollars and the percentages for 2025 And then, once we have pursued legislatively what we've collected from that. Again, going back to what Mayor Nichols just asked, what's the reason for these dollars? Because looks like, based on what Mrs. Stevens-Knott has provided in our report, we are fishing for more money. And if rental registrations are $250, and then people as a transient community are coming here, especially the larger companies are coming here, have a lot of homes, and they're not paying that fee, then we want to make sure that we, as aggressively as we pursue grass, as aggressively as we pursue trash, as aggressively as we pursue those who have not the vacant properties, I think too, those who don't pay their rental registrations, they also deserve that same level of aggression towards collection.
Ms. Curitan, I
Madam
would
Chair.
like to point out that the rental registration is an annual fee.
It is.
So just because it's a transient, 15 people could live in there and
Yeah.
they would still only pay it once.
Right, which
Okay.
goes for the property owner.
Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
but that
Yes.
property owner may have 10 or 20 or greater properties in our community, and we want to collect every single penny.
You are spot on. Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the
Ms.
same
Dukes.
level of,
Aggression may have not been the correct word, but assertiveness, how about that?
the same level of enforcement it's across grass, trash, and vacant properties as it is rental. It is the exact same process. When we ask for payment voluntarily based on our ordinances, we send the notification out, and then those that respond to that and pay willingly, the ones that we have a hard time collecting on are the ones that don't pay willingly, and the same type of legislation put out there for grass, trash, and vacant buildings is the same piece of legislation that is released for rental registration. The difficulty with what I can tell you with the list that we put out, how much we collected in-house. I think the difficulty becomes on the back end, once we release the legislation and we turn those over to the county, who in that group paid that amount? And so it would look a lot like what we were able to collect, a percentage, and we could even isolate it down to dollars. Ms. Shiva Stevens-Knott, is there any isolated way that we can tell on our payments once we get to the county level and it's collected for us that way?
High level answer is no. I'm actually in the process of going through the legal system of the state to get it identified. It simply comes in as special assessment dollars. So you'll see that pop up on our financials in the area that says special assessment, but we don't know which special assessment we're being paid for. It could be old, new, it could be vacant, property, rental, because the county says, well, you put it out here, so we're just gonna collect it in dollars. They don't do the detail of the what.
So we don't know an address, we don't know what for, we
Or I
get
haven't found
basically a
it.
lump sum.
I'm quite sure somebody has the detail. I just have to work through the process to find it. So I am on that.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Curitan, you good?
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much for working on that, Mrs. Stevens-Knott. Can you just maybe, even if it's not finalized by next BNF meeting, can you give us an update on that?
I can speak to it.
Perfect, thank you.
So just so I make sure I'm clear, you want from me the percentage that we brought in 2025?
I'm not talking about what happens beyond the city. I am referring to those who say, hey, I own property on Galbraith Road, I rent it out, I want to make sure that we pay it, and we collect on those. Those who do it the right way. Yeah.
So, Ms. Curitan, to be very specific, you want a total dollar amount that's collected and the percentage of not collected? Of not collected by the city?
No, don't
No?
tell me what's not collected. I want to know what we have, because the goal of asking this question is to strengthen our general fund.
So you want total dollars and total quantity?
That's correct. And then how the others who don't pay or don't register, that's addressed in a whole nother area
Yeah,
that
we'll
doesn't
see
really
that.
strengthen our dollars.
Yeah.
Our real-time dollars, yeah.
Well,
It does, but
down
not
the road.
in, yeah.
Yep.
Futuristically.
Good enough? And did you get that, Ms. Duchesne?
Yes,
So you're
thank you
Good,
for
good with that
clarification.
information? Perfect. All right. What did I put there? I don't know what that means. Online, a second page, I don't even know what I did. Okay, I confused myself. Ms. Stevens-Knott, do you know what I was talking about? I mentioned your name, but I don't know what I, sorry, sorry. I don't know what I was saying there.
I think you have finished your thought.
I know.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, I don't know what that is, so we can just ignore it. Sorry. Forgive me.
It's the, today.
I think it was because of the budgeted number for rental registration, so we were hoping to get 80,000. So far, we only collected 43.2.
So I was on the same subject. I wasn't actually out in left field. All right. I know. Thank you. All right, another item on under old business is there was supposed to be a meeting scheduled with Mr. Gene Berry, myself, Ms. Gaston, Ms. Dugstein, and Mayor Nichols. And that, I don't believe that has been scheduled yet.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Dugstein?
So I think after the meeting, I discussed that I don't think it's beneficial that we schedule a meeting. I shared in detail why it wasn't. I know Mayor Nichols did talk to Mr. Berry. If she wants to.
So without us?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to go into detail or.
I can, but I don't know
Please.
what good it would do. But if you would like to hear.
Yes.
I guess I'm
I mean, it's the same.
confused. I mean,
You guys had conversations with Mr. Berry without us as well. So in order for me, all the different conversations that went on, I needed to know myself without, just like with everybody else, without a third party or a second party telling me anything. So the conversation that we had was around which you all wanted to meet with him to discuss the ARPA funds. During our conversation, I asked him specifically if the funds, because there was question about whether or not it could be torn down with those funds. He suggested in our phone conversation, in our conversation more than once, that what the funds were appropriated for is what we should use it for. He also stated that if we decided or council decided to do anything else, that would prolong it, and he would have to find out if that was something that could be done. But he did not suggest that we try to reappropriate it because it was already appropriated to a vendor, and that we should utilize those funds for the purpose where it was originally, the legislation that you originally passed, how you appropriated it at first, in the beginning. And that was the gist of it. I asked him two, maybe three times, again, this is how it was appropriated. He said again, if you appropriated it to a particular vendor, to a particular project, we were talking projects, he said I would not change how it was appropriated initially.
Madam Chair,
yes, Ms. Cureton.
I see the wheels are turning. I see your wheels are turning. So I just wanted to ask this question to Mayor Nichols, if I could. His recommendation doesn't sound like it's the only option. It's just what it is, his recommendation. Is that correct?
When you say the only option, what are you alluding to? That
So you made mention that Mr. Berry suggested that if the funds were intended for a certain project, his recommendation is to use it for that project, meaning that it's just his recommendation. It doesn't mean that they cannot be used for something else. It just simply says he recommends.
He said typically when funds are appropriated for a project, that's typically what they're used for. Now, if there are other things that you can use with those funds, that benefits the city, then you could use them for those funds. But once you designate, right, designate it for that particular project, anything outside of that, he would have to look into whether or not the funds could be used that way, and which is above his, I don't want to use the word pay grade.
Well, this
but
is exciting because the
Madam
city
Chair.
hasn't. This is exciting because the city hasn't designated. They've only
Yes.
appropriated.
Yes, you have. You've
Yes, you-
appropriated and you designated it to RWB. There is a piece of legislation, there are two pieces of legislation. Actually, the first one that said to renovate the city center. That's the first piece. The second piece is when you can't, that was, I believe, it was 2024. I can't remember if it was October, November, whenever it was. But the other one is December 16th, 2024, where it was spelled out in the legislation what, and it was passed by council.
So one thing I want to say, and I want to save space for the other council members, is that the good thing about legislation is they can always be redacted,
Madam Chair.
modified, and changed. That's one thing I want to say. Council
You're
does have
absolutely
that.
right.
Does that have the ability that if council at any particular time, just like our codified ordinances, they say, maybe in 2024 this, or even 2025 we considered this, but now under further investigation and review, council thinks it should move in a different direction under legislation, they can do so. But what I'm not hearing you say is that he just told you no. And I'm a very black and white person. Did he say no, that the funds could not be used to tear down 1500?
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. I think Madam Chair.
Madam-
I just want to make sure I hear
Madam
the
Chair.
mayor.
She can't, but it's important to understand that what has happened is outside of what Mr. Berry has said, because again, Mr. Berry is simply an Ohio liaison as it relates to government funds. Once we appropriated the dollars and codified them inside of a purchase order, we have now stepped into the state of Ohio Revised Code, how you could use funds that have already been designated on a purchase order and the year has closed out.
Because they were codified.
There is a
And-
purchase order that is issued. We have encumbered
Yes.
the dollars
Right.
and the year has closed. You cannot change a encumbered purchase order once the year has closed.
This is the first time my ears.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This is the
So
first
I
time
feel
my
like
ears
I
have
can-
heard
okay,
those
then
words.
then maybe I didn't speak appropriately. Once a purchase order, funds encumbered, I can move vendors all day long as the year is open. But once the year closes, remember last year we talked about that encumbered balance that was at the end of our financials, and I said I can't do the new appropriations because it's showing $1.5 million of things still outstanding, 1.5 million of encumbered items, and I cleaned it up. And the only thing we had left was 600 and something thousand of encumbered dollars, and of that, 482,000 of it was ARPA. That cannot change vendors because the year is closed. That is an auditing situation. No, I don't care what Mr. Berry say. It does not matter. We closed the year. We put a name on the PO. It has been promised. Our purchase order is a promise to pay this vendor this amount.
Mrs. Stevenson, that's really good
Hang
information.
on, Ms. Kirsten, can I step in for a quick second? I need
Absolutely.
a point because my mind's about to blow right here.
Don't blow,
Can-
don't blow.
Ms. Stevens, can you help me with something? I keep hearing the word PO.
Mm-hmm.
Is the PO the same as a contract?
It is not. But it's how we, a municipality, it's kind of like our paper credit card.
Okay, so that PO, what do the line items on that PO look like?
They
Are there line items, let me back up. Are there line items that say roof, windows, toilet seats?
So I
don't
was
know.
not in position when the purchase order was created. It is created in the spirit of a quote, because that's how it should be. It's because a requisition is we're requesting these dollars to be set aside. It goes to finance, and finance says, okay, I'm going to issue a purchase order based on this quote that I was given. Not a signed contract, but a quote, because the dollars are available, because my job or that seat's job is to confirm that the funds are available. What was used in order to create the purchase order should have been, again, I was not here, but it should have been a quote from said vendor that itemized in that document what those dollars would be used for. Then, as those items are done, said vendor has a purchase order with a number, and she has the luxury of submitting invoices against that purchase order number, which then we tick off the balance.
Okay, so hold that thought, because I'm staring at what I think is the last quote that we talked about as a council. And the total on this is $743,308. So if we encumbered 480, right, it would go towards this 743.
That is correct.
So here, let's back up to, I don't know, that other meeting we talked about when we talked about the doors. Was that in your meeting or was that in this one? Everything's blurred right now. So this document, if that's the case, this document doesn't list one stinking door on it for Public Works building. So that's
why
kind of
not?
why I was digging into that
Yeah.
question. So,
I knew why you were.
so you see where my confusion is.
I understand.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Curran.
So I'm going to ask, why not? I don't want to just leave it there. I believe transparency, we're here, we're already here. Why not?
Why not what?
Why doesn't the quote, the PO, the R, whatever this is considered, that document from RWB, list the doors from Public Works, but in Mrs. Gaston's meeting, it mentioned that some of those funding, if I heard correctly, some of those fundings were used towards Public Works doors. Why not was that disclosed to council? Not for approval, but for transparency.
Correct.
I can answer that. Madam President?
Yes.
So I don't know if you remember us discussing at the end of 2025, we had talked about putting some of the costs that were at that building to this PO amount to make sure that we were be able to spend the money through 2026. And I said to you all continuously that I was trying to look for ways that we could spend against the encumbered amount of money to be able to carry the spending over through 2026. So we're not, that, as Ms. Shiva Stevens not verified tonight, that PO is still open and no invoices have been put towards it. There are invoices out there that we created, the work that needed to be done, that if that needed to be put towards that to carry the spendings over to 2026, we would have positioned ourselves to do so. Have those invoices been put towards that amount? No, it wasn't actually. I wanted to get to this point in the conversation.
Has that work been completed, though? The door work?
No,
Has it been started?
yes.
What percentage is it complete?
I don't know. I said that I had to check. That's what I mean, that's where I don't understand. I literally said that I had to check into it. I'm not prepared to answer all of that question. She just sent me the email.
Fair.
So, and I said that I would email the information out. I have to check to determine. I'm not over every single project. But you're asking for transparency. I'm giving it to you. I know that I referred back to ways that we would be able to carry this spending over into 2026 multiple times. So much so that it is kind of put out there that I wasn't being truthful about that. And when we talked to, or the discussion was had with Jean Berry, we talked about all of those nuances. And sometimes I think that it is beneficial when we come together and speak, but we have to ask the right questions. And so some questions are administratively what we did. I know that when we talked about the encumbering of the funds, clearly we talked about that PO. We talked about the encumberment of the funds. I talked about it all throughout 2025.
And Ms. Ducey, we're already 20 minutes over, and I get all that. But I want to go back to the whole point of Ms. Stevens not mentioned is I hear the mayor saying that we can't use the ARPA funds to tear down the building because that wasn't on the PO. But now there's the potential that this information wasn't added on the PO. So that's conflicting information, because that means that information's not on the PO, so we can do what we want with the PO then. That's where, do you see my head just swirling?
So
Because I'm hearing different things from different people, and it's really hard to reconcile all that in my head right now.
It's not different things from different people.
Well, it is.
I think what you're hearing is us as a municipality trying to figure out how to keep the money in-house, because we had gotten to the end.
And I get that part. I
If
understand that.
If you get that, then you have to get the transition of how we got here. You can't just say, I'm at this point, at this juncture, hearing all these conflicting things when this happened in decision-making processes over time to create an outcome that was best for the municipality. And so what I said was that we had the work started on the doors, and that we have, Ms. Stevens not confirmed to you all that we had not yet put that amount of dollars towards the money that was encumbered for that.
But that's a technicality at this point.
No,
If they
it's not,
started the
because
work,
because we
yes.
still needed to do the work, and it's still at that building. So no matter
Well,
what,
it's not at the administration building.
the address for that building is 1500.
And
That
now
is
we're- now
another
we're back at a
question.
technicality,
No,
because
we're
this
not.
says North College Hill Admin Offices Stabilization, and I'm pretty sure that's what the legislation says. And I have Ms. Gaston trying to find it for me right now.
That is one. So they're a technicality to you, but
So the technicality could also be we wanted to tear down the 1500 building.
the address on that
That's still the
building-
same address.
The address on that building is 1500 West Galbraith. So work being done on that building at the point in which we had to replace the doors, they're required. We would have had to pay for that out of pocket, or whether we put it towards the PO. What I said at the end of 2025 is that I would begin to look for projects that we could potentially put towards that PO to keep that dollar amount rolling into 26. Have we actually put that amount towards that? No. When we spoke to Mr. Berry, and his advisement was that we stick to that project, that's where we are today.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Curitan.
I just want to say this is very red flaggish, and that's probably not the right way to say that, but that sounds so out of alignment for what we want to see, excuse me, for our city. And it goes back to my questioning of how we would like for the numbers in Mrs. Stevens-Knott's report to be more transparent. But I want to just maybe throw something out there that I don't even know you've considered as you begin to expend some of these dollars, because that's what it is. We have an invoice for doors. I'm assuming RWB did the work. Is that correct?
A subcontractor.
I'm sorry. I
So-
thought we just mentioned, I wrote it down as best as I could. Mrs. Stevens-Knott says that if the dollars were appropriated to a said vendor contractor, then said vendor has to do the work. Now you're saying that a subcontractor completed the work.
So there are subcontractors built in that And,
The ARPA dollars?
In this quote, is what she's saying.
But Mrs. Stevens not said something a little bit different. I don't even want,
Subcontractor of RWB.
yes,
We need to just say the whole sentence. If RWB is the contractor, it's not realistic to believe that RWB does every contractor has subcontractors. So it's a subcontractor of RWB.
then it even raised more red flags, because why wouldn't we as a city just go to that particular vendor? We can't, because of the dollars that were appropriated back in 2024. But here's something I want you to consider. What if council decides to repeal legislation? You've already begun to spend the dollars.
you don't
Without there being full transparency. You don't have to tell us unless it's over 75,000. But what if council, after watching and hearing all of this, says they want to repeal legislation? What then happens with the dollars that you've begun to expend but not share with council?
Madam
I'm-
Chair.
I really want to ask Mrs. Stevens not if she could answer that question. How does that work for a municipality? If a council at any time, and this is beyond this, for anything, if they repeal legislation after the dollars are expended, what happens with grant dollars?
There is no repeal for legislation.
As it relates to this particular situation, in order for us not to have been obligated to write a check January 1 of 2026, the overall project that was much more than the rest of the ARPA dollars needed to begin. So starting a project with a vendor that we've already appropriated certain dollars to for one of the 1,000 projects that we have with said vendor is not out of scope in order to keep those dollars alive. So getting doors fixed at 1500 Galbraith is about an overall project of restoration, abatement, whatever you want to call, for 1500. Just because RWB did the work and the invoice will come in, if the invoice does not align with what we said the purchase order aligns with, then those dollars do not go against said purchase order. Number two, with a vendor, technically, they cannot bill a municipality without a purchase order. I need you to sit down, Morgan. Go get some. They cannot bill a municipality without a purchase order. It's actually written in the Ohio Revised Code. They can hope to get their money, but if they don't have a purchase order from the finance individual of said municipality, then it's thank you for your service and a nice donation.
So my question to you, just one more time, if a council beyond North College Hill, this just thinking, repeals legislation for dollars that are grant dollars after the administrator has expended those dollars, then what happens with those payments or funding?
I mean, it's the money that has been expended or the money that hasn't been expended, because grant dollars are about
The ones that so I'll say, let's just say, we're talking about doors, let's just keep it as doors,
That's
right? If the doors are expected to be paid for, the work is 50% done or even just now starting, there is still the work that has to be paid for
if they have a purchase order.
if
Madam
they have a
Chair.
purchase order. So are we saying, so now I want to make sure, because are we saying there is not a PO open for the work that was done on the doors?
I'm saying that currently I am not aware
Okay.
of a purchase order that is connected to doors very specifically.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I want to make sure that I am clear. So I'm looking at the legislation that was passed December 16th of 2024, and we do have, where it looks like it was paid, Public Works garage doors, that's on here. Then we have the senior center HVAC repairs. It's a lot of stuff on here, and then it goes down to North College Hill admin offices, 1500 West, or it doesn't say West, but it says Galbraith Road splash pad, and it has the dollar amount. So we did do Public Works garage doors, correct?
I told you, I was like, I wasn't here in 2024. So the question is, what is the document that was used in order to create the purchase order? And that's the information that's on that PO.
I wasn't here.
So I want to add a little bit more to that information that Ms. Gaston just provided. So ordinance 11, 2024, it says that those public works garage doors were already, I'm assuming, installed, and we paid them already. A total of $11,000, 11041.98. It already says that they're paid. So that confuses me even more.
Ms. Duxstein, please, if you can. You were here, you were just starting, I get it, but if you can, again, we don't want there to be myths out there. We want there to be understanding and transparency. Ms. Zorb has provided something that shows it was paid.
Actually, Ms. Gaston.
Or, excuse me, Ms. Gaston has provided that. Can you just be, if we're here, we're here. Let's just be, yeah, okay.
I didn't say garage doors. I knew that those doors had already been done. I wasn't speaking to that.
So there are more doors? Sorry. Out of order.
The door, yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I guess for my own clarity, I need to understand if council does not understand that, because I recall Ms. Duxstein saying at 2025, at the end of 2025, that projects needed to begin, because we left 2025 not knowing what council's intentions are. We still don't know what council's intentions are. And I specifically recall her saying, I can't say verbatim, word for word, but she did tell council that there are other projects to look into just in order to maintain the funding, which is where this came from. So with that being said, that's a project from that vendor in order to maintain those funds, which is why we went into the doors. Now, I probably shouldn't say this, but once it changes, if we say, to Ms. Kirsten's point when she said, what if you go back and repeal the legislation, then council would have to, or it would be within we would have the money. We have to take it out of building and funds or somewhere that way. We'll have to pay it that way. If you decide you're going to repeal the legislation, then we'll just take the funding for those doors from the building fund, because we do set aside money in order to do repairs and so forth. But Ms. Duxstein did, in fact, say at the end of 2025, there were some more projects that she could look into in order to maintain those funding so we would not have to send them back.
So I want to speak to that. And I completely agree with you. That comment was made. And I haven't found it yet, but I will. I feel very confident that what we were told is it was going to be for the electrical boxes on Galbraith that the vendor messed up when they were doing
The street.
the street, when they replaced the blacktop. Because I specifically recall asking, if the vendor messed them up, then why isn't the vendor fixing it?
So,
I know I asked that question.
Madam President,
And I was told it's too late, or I don't remember what I was told. But I know I was told it couldn't go back to the vendor, and we were going to go use RWB.
Madam President,
Yes.
so to provide some clarity, there were two electrical projects. The project on Hamilton Avenue, which was down in the ground, and then there were the lights above, if you will remember, the ones on Galbraith were the ones above and not below, because those were the reason why the Christmas lights did not go up. And we did not discover that they were damaged until they went to put the Christmas lights up, and the Christmas lights were not lighting up, and it was a power source issue. So the ones that were damaged were the ones on Hamilton Avenue, and Tepe had already been contracted for before I came in. I have the contract, I can send it out. They connected to us, actually, to tell us that this had been paid for, and the contractor, Tepe, did fix those lights. The ones at the top, they were damaged, just wear and tear. That was a different project. And neither of them, those two groups of money, or I'm sorry, the cost of those two electrical projects went towards the ARPA funds or any of the projects there. That is not a qualifying project that I could have used towards those ARPA funds.
Which would have been my confusion.
Madam Chair, I just have one more question.
Yes, Ms.
I just wanted to clarify this. We're using the words doors, and the only doors I know about in the Public Works building are the garage doors. You mentioned that there was a project that was started for ARPA funds in Ms. Gasson's meeting that is fixing the doors. So can you clarify what doors are those?
Those are there are more doors than the garage doors.
That's what I'm asking. What are they?
Like the entry doors.
Like the,
Inside the building.
so like one door?
Multiple doors.
How many doors do they enter in for their building?
I don't know. What I can tell you is I will follow that information up via an email so that we can make sure that you have that. And so if that was not a project that could be used for the ARPA funds, we would be paying for it completely out of pocket. What I was trying to do, and what I said multiple times, I even looked into the fire hydrant project as well, to try to get something over there started at the end of 2025 in order to make sure that the funds were able to be carried over to 2026. So what I tried to do was to choose a low-cost project that was done at 1,500 in order to carry the dollars over. As we talked to Jean Berry, we were more clear at what could and could not be done. And so we need to stick to that. But what I said then, if you go back and listen, is that we would choose projects that needed to be done regardless.
Okay. Mayor Nichols, I just want to share something with you. I think for the last, I don't know, I've been watching my clock. One thing that we can do to strengthen the council administration relationship is that we realize that Ms. Dukestein does not have to come to us for approval if it's under 75,000. But what it will do is that it will allow us to avoid lengthy conversations about projects that she's working on. I'm wondering if there is a way that, again, under 75,000, have at it. Well, no, not have at it. No, no.
Please take back that segment.
No, thank you. But if there are projects that the administration is working on, is there a section on the website or in the administrative report that can say, this is what we're working on in the month of June, July, anticipated for August and September, and maybe giving an estimated dollar amount and maybe even giving an idea of where the funding is coming from? That not only gives council foresight, but it also gives our residents foresight on the good work that is occurring in our city, because if the doors need to be repaired, let's do it. But it also allows council and administration to work in sync together. We've been so divided for a long time, and in order for us to get things done in this city, we have to be walking as closely as possible as we can. So if it's possible for Ms. Dukestein to say, hey, I'm not coming to council for permission because it's under 75,000, but I just want to, in the spirit of transparency, let you all know this is what I'm working on. And that's actually a kudos to, what she is doing. That will allow us to be a better city. And I'm wondering if you can help champion that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
So I'll say it again. There's a disconnect. There's been a disconnect. I don't know what the motive is, but it just is for a lot of people. It's just 7 of us. We should be able to get this done. The reason why I asked for us 4 to be on a call is so that we don't have conflicting information. Maybe I heard Mr. Berry wrong. Maybe we misunderstood. I don't know. That's why if I was sitting at the feet of the mayor while she was on the call with Jean Berry, I would have heard what she heard. I could have asked clarifying questions and we could have moved on. But we're still at the same spot where I have different information than what administration has. So my ask was for us to be on a Zoom together. He was more than happy to do that so that I can hear what it is that he's saying, because maybe I'm getting it wrong. But in order for us, me, the decision maker, the legislative body, to move forward, I just wanted to hear it. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for someone to have their arm twisted, none of that stuff. I'm not trying to squeeze information that I'm looking for. I just need the right information so that we can move forward, because it's June. And I just want to know what we're going to do with this piece of paper and this money.
Madam
so we can
Chair,
move on.
but Mr. Barry sits in a position where he can't speak to certain things. And I think that we need to understand that he can only speak to the administration of a grant. He cannot speak to the laws and the ordinances and the protocols governing municipal dollars and practices. That is in the state of Ohio. So that's fine of whatever he's going to tell you, what she's going to tell you, all the exact same thing. But if you ask him, we have a PO under this name that got appropriated on this date, can we change it? This is going to be his statement. That is not my area of expertise. I cannot speak to that. That is that is our problem.
Okay.
That is our problem.
So, Ms. Stevens, what I think I hear is that council needs to know exactly what's listed in the system for that PO. The
Yeah.
exact details. Is that possible for you to get to us?
I'm going to look and see and through the paperwork and see what was used in order to create. But I do believe that there is a detailed document that speaks to, because it's to the cents. It's like $482,695.82. That's not a random number. That is a
get that,
calculation.
please?
So we can dig and pull that out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just have a question, I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is, I'm trying to make sure I don't say it offensively. I'll just say what my perception is. My perception is that there are some who want the building to be demolished. So my question is, if that's the case, and these funds are already appropriated in they're in a PO for someone else, has council considered the cost to remove the asbestos outside of grant dollars and what it would cost to demolish the building?
See, Madam Mayor, I'd like to tell you that that's the exact kind of question that I would have liked to ask Mr.
Yep.
Barry, but I wasn't given that opportunity.
Um,
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I
would you like
believe
to
that you
respond?
all have already spoken with Mr. Barry.
I wanted us to all hear it at the same time so we could all understand it together. But it looks like at this point, I need to see that PO in order for council to make an educated legal decision on how to move forward. And again.
Which is why my question was outside of the grant dollars.
Correct.
My
Madam
question
Mayor.
was outside of the grant dollars, which has nothing to do with Mr. Barry, which is why.
Please understand that council, I shouldn't say that generically. I can tell you that Ms. Zorb has ideas in her head that are within those grant dollars.
Same.
That's what I have to say.
Mayor,
And-
All right.
Madam President,
Madam
I,
Yeah,
I just want,
Ms. Gaston, I think was next, sorry.
yeah.
I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole, but that's an excellent question, Mayor Nichols, that I'm pretty sure I emailed 900 times. What is the cost to rehab? What is the cost to sell? What is the cost to tear it down? I asked for all of those numbers, and we didn't. I don't know how much it costs to tear that building down. I know we could sit here and throw numbers out, but it was not looked into, and it was requested in email. So I agree with you. We need to look at all this stuff, but I just wanted to say that that was asked.
Okay, very, very quickly, Madam President, or Madam Chair. So two things. One, I was not a part of that conversation. I was not a part of that conversation with Mr. Barry. However, Mayor Nichols, I'm gonna throw the ball in your court. And if we're trying to move this city forward in a positive direction, the sentiments of Sheriff and Ms. Zorb and Ms. Gaston have asked for a call. If Ms. Dukestein doesn't have the capacity at this time, respectfully, it's understood. But would you be open to just having that call and conversation? And I'm going to say, Ms. Gaston, if you're even open to setting it up on per the mayor's availability,
Yeah.
just have that call. It can even, because you all have both had your conversations, it could be a quick 15-minute touch base. I'm I'm going to ask you, Mayor Nichols, if you are open to that conversation with Mr. Berry, yourself, Ms. Zorb, and Ms. Gaston before, if Mr. Berry's schedule permits, before the next meeting. And then my next, so you can say yes or no. And then the next question is, I am actually going to, from a budgeting and finance standpoint, I am going to revisit the questions that we have asked of Ms. Dukestein to give us a cost to tear down, the full cost. And we don't have to say it's ARPA dollars. We just want to know the cost to tear down, the cost to fully restore from phase 1 to getting in there and actually using it, to get in the building. And I'm asking you to gather these dollars. And then the third cost is to, if we were to sell, now I know the appraised value of the building, if it's torn down, or the land, excuse me, is torn down is $300,000. So I'm gonna say we don't need that, but the cost to tear it all the way down and the cost to fully rehab it, if you can also begin to work on that. That's probably a stretch, but I think we're there. We've beat this horse. I mean, we're done. I don't want to use that analogy, but we are done. We need to make a decision.
Now.
Madam Chair.
Now.
Madam Chair.
So if I can allow Mayor Nichols, if you can answer yes or no, because my mind is thinking, how much longer will we have to discuss this? If you can say yes or no to Ms.
Madam Chair,
Gaston.
it won't be a yes or a no. My response to that is, we've had multiple conversations about this. You guys have talked to Mr. Berry. I've talked to Mr. Berry. I believe she's talked to Mr. Berry. Feel free to contact him again. If he chooses to meet, you can send me a link. But I realize that this meeting, this is just my opinion, is just one-sided, because you want him to tell you, yeah, you can tear it down with it. That's my assumption. That's my assumption. You want him to tell you that when I have no reason, no room to fabricate and or lie about a conversation that I had with him. This is what he said to me. That was his suggestion. And I even stated how he said, he didn't use the word above his pay grade, but for what we want to do, he said that what it was appropriated for, his suggestion would be that we leave it the way that it was. Feel free to reach out, have him send a link. I'll join the call, as long as it's not the 15th of June or the 8th.
Okay, I believe
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Chichester was next.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to state for the record, it is 9:46 p.m. This is, I agree with Mayor, this is conversation we've had earlier in the meeting. We've had it several times throughout the last few years. I think one of the things Ms. Kierton said was a number from start to completion. But we can't give that number of start to completion when we can't get past phase 1. We don't know what phase 2's plan or phase 3 plan is. So that is not a number we can give when we have not made that decision.
Ms. Chichester, but one point of clarification, she's not asking you to do it, she's asking her to do it.
Absolutely, but I'm just
Okay.
pointing out
You're
for
saying
the
right.
record, for just
Right.
like everyone else has
Don't
the
say what you can't
opportunity.
do.
Everyone else has had that opportunity to speak. I just ask for the same respect. I'm pointing out for the record, you make a plan when you're building your home. You pick the square footage you may want for your kitchen. You don't pick out the countertops till you decide what size or what the counter is going to look like. You get to the point, then you make those cosmetics, those internal decisions. We don't know what type of programming, what usage the building, or if we're going to continue to tear it down. There's so many parameters around that. But we as a council can't even get past phase 1 to make the decisions on 2 or 3 moving forward. And again, we've had these discussions. Your questions are valid, your questions are fair, but I think these are things we've asked. Sometimes when someone asks a question, they may not like the answer that they were given, so they circle around trying to find a way to get to the answer they want to hear. And I feel like that's what we've been doing with this building. That's my opinion. I didn't say it was fact, I just said it was my opinion. With that being said, it is now 9:48. We still have new business, and we didn't even get to the first responders.
That's because that's just in the parking lot. We're not going to, the mayor asked me to keep that there.
Absolutely.
We're not gonna even talk about
So
that.
can we end that discussion right now for 1500
Yeah, are you
and move
finished?
to
And
new
I'll do
business?
make a summation.
Or we can adjourn.
I'm giving you the floor. Are you finished speaking?
Yes, I am.
All right, so as a summation, and I work in construction for a pediatric hospital in my real job, so I know when we go to the board to ask them for an amount, we ask them for the total package. So it can be done. It is done every day in the construction world. I'd also like to point out that, oh heck, it doesn't even matter anymore. If we could get the copy of that PO or whatever that information is on that PO, Ms. Stevens not, I think that's gonna help us a lot. And unless anyone else has any absolute dying comments to make, we're gonna move on.
Madam Chair,
This is a dying comment to make.
it is not a dying comment, but it is a clarifying comment so that I can finish the job that Ms. Kirton
All right.
asked. So, I think first of all, I did get information about the tear down of the building. I just need to get that in writing. So I talked to several individuals about that, and I'll make sure that I get that in writing and pass that along. Secondly, I been asked multiple times about getting an assessment on the entirety of the building. I agree, and I think this is what Ms. Chichester was trying to say, and I'm not trying to double down on what she's saying, but I'm trying to accommodate what I've been asked to do. I don't know how I can get a quote or even information around how we can finish the building if we don't know what it is that we want to do with the building. So
That's the plan that I've been asking for years.
so the reason I think that it has been delayed at that place, Ms. Zorb, is because then that comes back to council and council's desire and the next steps. So the goal was to get the building stable so that you all could decide how much you want to invest in the building further in order to do something further with it, sell it, or whatever it may be. But if we don't, because it would be remiss of me to make that presumption for you. So what I have been trying to do through the information provided is to retain the dollars so that we can get the building stable, so that we have options. If you play back what I've said in the past, I've said that multiple times. Get the building stable so that we have options. But when people and individuals are, considering other things like tearing it down, then that takes us outside of the very best that I could have done at that space back then. And so I just don't know how to complete the task.
I can share with you,
Okay?
Madam Chair.
Please make it as concise
It's
as possible.
very, very quickly. So it's called a future use study or a master planning project. You're forecasting out what it could be. It's not to say this is what we're going to do, but a project manager or someone who works in construction as project managers, they would be able to share with you. If we were to do this, they would provide drawings and even estimates that will show you what it would be. And then you take those estimates over to your builders, to your contractors, back to RWB and say, if we were to do this, how much would it cost? But the first start is having a project manager. This term is called a redevelopment project or even a master planning project, and a project manager would be able to help you with that.
So
I'm sorry, we're gonna move on.
I'm not clear. I cannot do that. What she's asking, I'm not able to do that because you guys just got all over me at the idea that I put out a project that could potentially be used to carry the dollars over, and you're frustrated about that. But now you want me to go out there and project what might be an end game for this building. I don't want to do that. Mayor, I know you have said to me multiple times, it is council's responsibility to present an end game for that building. If I put something out there, it's going to say, or send a message or idea that I have projected where that building is going to go. And I don't think that that's fair to my position or my role, especially on the accusations and the past and the things that have been thrown out there around this building in this situation. If you want
We
me,
can give suggestions, but primarily we all know it's council's responsibility, whatever they want to do with the building. We
All
can
right,
all day.
Ms. Curitan, do you care to take back that request?
I don't. I actually believe that in order for us to have any foresight on this, and I'm talking as quickly as I can, we have to have the right people in the right seats to get the right results.
So we're
and
gonna-
having, I'm sorry, Mayor Nichols, in order to see what we can do with that building, it takes more than just getting an appraisal. We have to have big vision. Our community surrounding us are knocking on our door and saying, North College Hill, please catch up. So we might have to hire a project manager, PRN. We might have to have someone else come out here, PRN. But we can't just say, I can't do it or I don't want to do it. Let's just
didn't
keep
say
our
that.
minds.
I'm saying it's not my responsibility to do it. It's council's responsibility to do it. And you can't do anything with that building until you stabilize it.
Madam
And so
Chair.
until you get to a point where you're choosing to stabilize that building or tear that building down, then you can't even foresee what it can be.
All right, this conversation is no longer productive. We're going to end it here.
Yep.
Do we have any new business? All right. Hearing none, we do have the item in the parking lot. The mayor requested that. It's the mental health awareness annual visit for the first responders. And that will be maintained in the parking lot until it's not needed in the parking lot. Until we address it or the mayor asks us to do something different with it. It is now 9:55 and we are adjourning.